Before we start today's episode, we just wanted to let you know that if you're looking for an audio-only version of the podcast, you can find us on Spotify and iTunes or anywhere you listen to podcasts. And if you do find us on iTunes, rating us and leaving us a review helps us out a lot. And if you're looking for other ways to support us, you could do that by going to patreon.com/volume1pod. And then Casca's like, but what if we come across Nosferatu Zod again? And he's like, but a dream? Hello and welcome to another episode of Volume 1, the anime and manga podcast where we usually review the first volume of a brand new manga each week. But today, it's the long-awaited Berserk Volume Done, the Golden Age Arc Part 2. I am Josh, the Phoenix Michaels. And today, as always, I am joined by...
I am a gross monkey lion man.
Mm-hmm.
Perrine.
Right.
Cody, Corkus
Oh,
we got our Corkus.
That was better than mine.
Thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of Volume 1. Like I mentioned, but moments ago, we are going to be covering the sort of middle of the Golden Age arc in this Part 2 episode. We're going to pick up right where we left off. And I guess before we get like real into it, I just got to say, better and better. I'm obsessed.
I'm obsessed.
I see now where people say like the story becomes the story it is after the Golden Era, because I can feel it becoming what the story is. And like from what I've heard and like what I'm like looking forward to, I'm like, oh, this is how that's going to start happening.
Yeah, it's starting to not only feel like a Guts origin story, but like an origin story for this world.
Yeah, like, which is the thing. Like everyone is saying, once this event is going to happen. So it is like, oh, and that's when... And I'm, you know, this is one of those things that I'm looking forward to the parts that I hear happen after.
Yeah. There was, jumping right back into it, there was a part of the story that right when it started to feel like it was becoming almost, for me personally, almost too much of battle after battle, it became something so amazing. And I think like it's a credit to Miura, rest in peace, and his writing. Like it's almost as if he was aware of the fact that, you know, as an audience, I need to keep this story moving. Because for me, where we left off with Casca and Guts in the cave, right after that, it's the Battle of Daldry, and that seems to take up a lot of time. And we do meet interesting characters, and it is an interesting part of the story. But compared to what ends up happening later, I mean...
It's just like a perfect example of like how a story grows, not, I guess, on you, but just you see the characters grow. It doesn't, okay, battles, sure, and they grow from the battles, and that it dictates different things and choices that the characters make, and it's just continuing to go on and on. It doesn't feel like, okay, we had a battle, now this has to happen for the story to continue. It's like, no, this is happening because of this and this and this. Like,
because where I think Berserk thrives is in its character moments, right? I love seeing these battles on these like massive scales, but when it takes time to pause and give us Guts and Casca in the cave, and we learn about Griffith and all these other things, like that's where this story really shines to me.
Yeah, the seeing those like battles, it is like there's a lot of like, oh wow, okay,
for
a lot of those moments of like, wow, okay, that was a splash page, a lot of splash pages, like Jesus, but like it was like impressive on that level, but like I didn't really get invested in the fights. It started to become like fun, like a couple volumes into Part 2 of this, where I was like, it started to feel more like an action movie. Yeah, and that's when I was like, oh, I'm in the rhythm of this.
Yeah, I definitely felt myself get into the pocket of just being fully immersed in the story again. But it happened it happened like sort of like right where we left off, and then like I said, like the Battle of Daldry kind of like it didn't drag, but it comparatively to sort of the moments that we see later, I think what ends up happening is just so much more interesting on so many levels.
And that's like a good portion of Volume 8.
Yeah.
Like the battle, so.
Yeah. But what we do end up getting, which I love.
The hard opening, by the way, to
what?
The Part 2, the opening scene.
Which opening scene?
With Guts and Casca.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I also should mention, too, that me and Megan, I think, I don't know if you did, Cody, but me and Megan went back, and because we needed more Berserk, because it was almost impossible for me to stop reading where we were going to stop talking about it today, because I knew that if I did continue to read, I wouldn't be able to help myself from like talking about it. But it was like so hard to stop that I went back and watched two of the 3 Golden Age arc movies. So I do want to dip into that a little bit, just because of like things that you're saying, moments, and specifically moments that they chose to either completely rearrange or cut out entirely.
Yeah,
because if I had to guess, I would like I don't think they're going to include that scene.
Barely, and they cut out completely what was like would have been amazing to see animated, which I didn't understand. But
we'll talk
whatever.
about it specifically. Talk about the scene specifically, or that moment.
Guts and Casca.
The hard opening of Guts and Casca being together.
I mean, are you talking about what happens later when they finally?
Yes, that's what we're talking about. Of course, that's what we're talking about.
I was still, because I'm still with them in the cave right now. And what they did cut out is this beautiful story that we got with Griffith.
Oh my God!
Casca telling Guts about
why don't we start? Why don't we just fucking
this history that Griffith
this
had with this rich lord, and this lord who specifically like was attracted to young boys.
Oh my God!
And took interest in Griffith.
Oh yeah, that's reading this. I was like, because I know that this stuff becomes a much more recurring thing. So I'm curious to see how you guys feel about it.
Oh my God!
Because it is like, I don't think you guys have a high threshold for liking that kind of stuff.
No.
Well, yeah.
What do you mean liking that kind of stuff?
In media.
Well, I mean, is it palatable? I mean,
not liking it, but being like, because it is like, as it goes on, because I know that's like a huge part about the series too, and there's like a huge moment later on where it's that, but I'm like, it becomes more common. So I'm wondering how long you guys are gonna.
Sure. I mean, what more can you say? Like, okay, let's just get.
Well, I mean, I'll say this.
Tidbit.
There were moments, and again, not to jump ahead too much, but there were moments with specifically the moment between Guts and Casca that happens later that you're talking about, where I was like taken aback and had to put the deluxe edition volume down.
Promo code Josh Magic
because of just like how intense it was.
I was reading it in public. How do you think I felt?
Okay, well that's on you.
I didn't know.
This isn't a public reading.
I had no idea. I was like on my laptop, like outside of the mall or whatever, and I was like, "This is nice. It's a good day." And then I was like, "Oh, oh."
Yeah, you started getting funny.
What's going on?
You do find out how dedicated Griffith was to his cause of getting money for the
and that's exactly what he did. You see a panel of him just like on a balcony, and Casca's like, "Hey, what are you doing? Let's go!" And then lo and behold, he's with that fucking fool.
This is such an important character moment for Griffith. This is such an important part of his story, and they cut it out of the movie. Which they did like allude to it on the battlefield later, and sure, maybe context clues you could pick it up, but to me, this just like informed his character so much because he is willing to do anything, and also just how it's an important moment because it shows Casca shows us that like Griffith might not be as strong as he seems to be, that it's more something that he's just like having to put on so that he can accomplish the things that he wants to accomplish. It takes him from being this like man on a pedestal to being a very human man who's having to do like all kinds of things to get what he wants.
His explanation for like selling himself to the Baron for one night, which was I could do this for one night and we avoid fighting, and that's as much as 5 battlefields. So it was like he's like so dedicated to this like dream he has where you see like that's
and not to cut you off, but it is interesting too because that happened because there's this moment with this like little boy on the battlefield who wanted to be a member of the Hawks but then was killed very early on, and they find a toy of his too, and Griffith has that's where his reasoning comes in, where he has that moment and says, I don't want to lose any more people because of my dream. You know,
the thing that killed this child was my
dream, and he kind of, no one will remember him, but I will, I'm going to take the time. And so it does kind of, let us in on the fact that like, regardless of what ends up happening later, Griffith in this portion of the story is becoming like a very like humanized character, like or version of himself. And I'm finding myself like empathetic towards him.
Yeah.
I went in the first half of the Golden Age arc seeing him as a villain, knowing how him and Guts and their relationship ends up, I'm like, this guy is manipulating everybody. He's got all these plans. He's going to betray and backstab everybody. But now I'm starting to see that like that might have not always been like a part of him.
Although he was always manipulative, and he like that. Like there is something he does later on which is like purely manipulative. And,
I guess not to the degree that I maybe thought.
No, but like his it is a very believable like ascension of like the things he does to where I'm like I believe that guy would go on to do this
trajectory.
Still being who he was, that he got to that point. I can see that path happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, and not to like, it was just like, Casca's like telling Guts this, and
Well,
Guts
yeah,
is like, Guts is like, no fucking way.
Yeah.
He's like, no way that happened.
Yeah.
He's like telling a friend, like, is like, oh, that guy. He's
That
like, no way. That didn't
Did
happen.
seem like you shouldn't have told Guts that. Like you shouldn't be telling people that.
It did seem weird for her to tell Guts that, but you know, I guess it informs their relationship a little bit.
No,
I don't
it
think
is like story wise very important.
Yeah.
But I like as I was going out, I was just thinking about you should have kept that to yourself.
But I mean, he would have never told Guts that.
Yeah, which is like
Yeah,
if
but
he wanted.
I guess that's
yeah,
the
like
point.
tell him about the boy on the battlefield, not about what happened after.
Yeah, and then like
that
scene-
motivated him to do other stuff. What else motivated him? Well,
Well, where do I
money.
begin? Little boys. Let's start
Oh.
there.
your classic catchphrase.
Never in my life has that ever been my catchphrase, and nor will it ever be. But yeah, so it's this interesting moment too, where we get to see, you know, Griffith be vulnerable and be real, and he's in the river cleaning himself, and Casca's like sort of doesn't know how to be around him anymore, and he has this moment of dialogue with her where he's like, am I dirty to you?
Oh, yeah.
Like, do the things that I've done make me dirty?
When he said like, is the water too dirty for you to bathe in? That was
I mean, yeah. I mean, the writing, chef's kiss. It's so much. I mean, again, where I think causality and I guess that maybe being sort of the main theme going in. Now it's starting to shift and become like all about dreams and like what people are like willing to do for their dream, and like back, you know, we'll get to there, but the Campfire of Dreams scene that happens later too, and Guts sort of realizing, which again, to call back to our first our part 1 Golden Arc video, that moment becomes clearer now that when Guts heard Griffith at the fountain with the princess, that his reaction to Griffith talking about dreams was Guts realizing that he didn't have any.
Yeah.
And that he wasn't Griffith's equal, and that he wasn't Griffith's friend. In Griffith's words.
and that was what a correction someone I think a couple of people made, that like, oh, Guts isn't his equal. But like, and it's like, oh, on like ambition wise, yeah, but Griffith also said like someone who like can beat him in a fight is someone who like he would consider an equal, someone who's as strong. And Guts does prove himself to be that too.
Yeah, but you got to check a lot of boxes to be Griffith's friend. He's got a lot of things you need to do.
Yeah.
And I get
kill people for me.
Which again,
be
we
in
are
power.
a band of mercenaries, so
Yeah.
that's not a moral issue. And
No, continues to not be.
You take baths with-
Continues to not. Yeah,
it's
take baths.
kinda weird
Splash
you-
fight.
got shocked that someone died in a battlefield, and that shook you up. I mean, you are the leader of a mercenary.
Yeah, but it was a kid.
It was
I
a
guess.
child.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like,
Yeah.
he's like, I don't want my teammates to die. And it's like, I mean, they have been.
Yeah. Also, don't let the kid on the battlefield. Right.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying now. Now I get what you're saying.
So after all this, like, Casca's just like, you know, like, why did it have to be you? Like, it should have been me. Like, I should be Griffith's fucking favorite. And you're like, okay, finally, she's letting it all out on the table because she has not been able to tell Guts exactly why she hates him. She's just like, don't do that, you fucking idiot. And he's just like, what?
Yeah. But I mean, I think it's been pretty obvious she's jealous, but now, yeah, you're right. Guts is getting let in on that. One thing too that I don't think the movies ever land is the comedy that like,
Oh, yeah.
between Guts and Casca, and specifically his facial expression.
Drawings and shots that are like pure manga comedy.
Oh my
scenes.
god, it
Yeah.
gets progressively
That's
like
why-
more of that, and I'm just
Yeah.
like, oh, I love
Yeah.
it, I
When
love it.
you meet the buzz cut,
Yes, the
Oh, that
general.
top
fucking guy,
cut,
yeah.
haircut guy. That's when that's when
Adon.
I started. Who was like the Arnold stand-in, which I guess Arnold
Yeah.
is a reference to Berserk.
Yeah.
Once that character came in, that's when I like really started to like get like be like, oh, I feel the rhythm of the story, where it became an action comedy where Griffith is like trying out one-liners.
No, I mean Guts too. No, I mean
Guts.
Yeah.
Guts, not Griffith.
No, yeah, I
Guts
noticed that too.
He becomes so much more playful and like
All of a sudden,
like nice, and like he's just so much more social, and he's able to talk to people and like have fun, and you totally just see him grow so much, and it makes me so
all of a sudden,
happy.
especially with the battle with the 100 men, battle or whatever, which pretty much happens right after that.
He's fucking funny.
He starts throwing out one-liners,
but
playing
they're like
around.
not that good.
Yeah.
And then at the end, he does have like a pretty solid one-liner. So
Yeah.
it is like, as an action hero, I'm seeing him develop. That's one of those things
Yeah, he's like, she might bite you off, and then she like hits him, and he's like, in the
I'm
fucking like
helping.
classic face. Yeah,
Yeah.
so cute.
I think once that happened is when I was actually like also having fun reading it.
Yeah.
100%.
That was it. Becomes I'm starting to see heist writing because the narrative is like switching up a lot with like, here's this scene, and then you won't find out to set it to that for like 2 more volumes, but keep that in mind.
Yeah. There's so many things that pay off too, and again, having to put the book down was so hard. But that battle is where we're leading into this battle with Adon, the guy who was the reason they fell off the cliff in the first place. He's gone into the woods. He brings 100
back.
soldiers with him to take them out. Obviously, Casca, he's back because he's Arnold, and even Arnold's existence is a homage to Berserk. Casca's still like under the effects of her period.
Yeah.
And
still heavy.
Still got a heavy flow.
Heavy flow.
Yeah.
Poor girl.
Poor girl. And so she kind of after lots of convincing from Guts, by the way, also like becomes more like comedic in a sense, but also becomes like, after Casca opens up to him, becomes a wingman. Like he just goes full wingman mode. And it's like, yeah, I'm just going to hook up my friend Casca with my friend Griffith.
I noticed that. He's like, we should get with Griffith.
Yeah, I know. He's just like, this is how it's going to be.
Yeah.
I know it already. I already see it.
Every now and then I like find music to like listen to while I read a manga. And at that battle, I was just playing the Doom soundtrack.
Did it fit?
Oh yeah, I don't know if you've heard the Doom soundtrack, but
Absolutely not.
Because I also think Doom does. They say like that. One of the inspirations is Berserk, but like it's a very like heavy metal. Dun, 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 dun,
Yeah. Well, that scene, I mean, that's where Guts, kind of goes berserk.
He pops
Whoa.
off.
Whoa.
He pops the fuck
pops off.
off.
And this is another kind of like, it's almost comedic at times, this battle, and how these other characters come in, that this Samson character with this huge morning star, and Adon, and all these guys, Casca having to run off, Guts just like being quippy in the middle of this battle, but getting it done. And Casca runs off, gets attacked by a second group of people hunting, I guess mercenaries hunting for them.
Yeah.
Casca gets her clothes ripped off so many times in this section of the story.
I know.
I almost feel bad for her. I'm like, girl, get like, wear something a little less easy to rip off.
I mean, she has her armor on, and they still, she's like, fuck, okay, whatever. And then here comes
in
Judea.
This chunk of the story,
she does
8 times.
Yeah, she does.
8 times.
We could talk about that other thing that is super funny later.
Yeah.
But yeah, then she gets saved by the other band of the Hawks that come in, rescue her. She's cool, and then she's like, "But we have to go get Guts." And I'm just like, "Oh my god, she actually wants to save Guts." Like that's such a crazy. She wants to save him versus like he can do it. Like,
and I think it's an important line of dialogue because it's gonna come full circle, I think, later. But Guts tells her, like, go back to a sword returns to the sheath.
Mm-hmm.
Go back to Griffith. Since you want to be his sword, you should return to him. So then that's when they come rescue Casca. Then they come rescue Guts. But Guts does not need rescuing. He's done all the dirty work himself.
Shit, there's like 100 men here, and he's just like on the tree, just like
Yeah.
And the Arnold man has done. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, what?
The Arnold man is conventionally.
He does a secret technique to.
Yeah.
He's the Reagan of the group.
Yeah.
That's why it becomes a kind of a funny action movie.
He does. He's like a total shtick character.
Yeah, no, for sure. And it is a little annoying that they don't just fucking kill him.
Yeah,
but
whatever. Like, how did you
get out of this one, huh?
Well, how are you also like a general in this army?
Yeah.
But it is funny, but it's also just like, die.
Die,
Die.
please.
So they basically get back. Griffith's off at a war meeting, and Casca's a little upset about that because they were missing and he wasn't looking for them, that he was off doing his own thing. And he ends up coming back early, and it's not as big of a deal. Guts, I think, slaps her on the ass.
Before that, though, Judeo, I think his name is? Judea?
Yeah.
And Casca have a really good conversation because he's like, oh yeah, Griffith wanted to find you guys, and he said a line of dialogue like, they are the essence of the Band of the Hawks, they're my favorites or whatever. And she was like, oh, I actually am wanted by him.
Yeah.
Wow.
I gotta say too about that character specifically, look, I love this series. It's quickly becoming one of, if not my favorite series ever. But
what about him?
He knows everything.
Yeah.
He knows everything. They'll come across this obscure, group of people or person or thing or legend, and he just knows yep, that's the devil dog right there.
He's smart.
I mean, he is smart, and I do love him.
That's his thing.
But he just so quickly, it's just he's able to be yep, that's that's that, that's this, he's the character that you need. He's an exposition sort of character.
I just took it as he has a lot of knowledge about different things. And...
No, I mean, he does, but
I mean, either way, that is what's happening.
Yeah, either way, they could be both.
You didn't take it as him being knowledgeable. He
is
knowledgeable.
He is,
the issue is if it's too much or not.
Yeah, they could be both. He could be both.
Yeah.
But
he is both.
Yeah, he's she's like, oh, Griffith, you're back, and then Guts hits her to go hug him, and then he's just he looks to the side. He's just I got you, girl.
Which, oh my God, I don't even. It comes back to bite him, I think, and it hurts me on a deep level. But we get through. I'm gonna sort of leave it up to you guys, what we really linger on and what we really sort of just kind of blow past.
Oh, we gotta talk about
a lot happens.
The field, the dreams.
Right. So
dialogue.
so that comes up. The Campfire of Dreams when they get back to camp.
The Campfire of Dreams is a great title for a novel.
Oh, dude, it's also beautiful. Just I've never heard that sort of analogy. How would you say it or call it?
I'm sorry, what?
Because they say there's all these fires are dreams, and they're all they would all die on their own.
That's
which is why they're thrown into the inferno of Griffith and Griffith's dreams. Mm-hmm. I'm like, damn, dude, this is beautiful. Mm-hmm. Sorry, I don't know the difference between metaphors and analogies, Cody.
Why are you saying that that's a dig against me?
I know, it's just a dig against myself.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm idiot.
I didn't say that. But yeah, I thought
you didn't have to because I got you, buddy.
Thank you.
Now, furthermore,
thank you. But that was a beautiful scene.
I did like the reason that Griffith or Guts is pushing Casca and Griffith getting together is he doesn't consider himself a romantic option.
No, because I don't even think he's ever thought of that ever in his life. But he's just you obviously there's something there. I'm not gonna mess that up by getting in between it, even if I wanted to. And we get some really meaningful dialogue from Guts. Even Casca's he's just talking, and he's just that's the first time we ever hear him actually talk eloquently and have long speeches about dreams and what he's gonna do with his life. It was so impactful to see that.
Yeah,
just
now him and Casca are closer too, so she can say things like, "Man, it must have took all your brain power to come up with that," But it's the first time, when Guts lets us, the readers, in on the fact that he doesn't have a dream. His flame is not there. And it's a sad moment, but it's also a moment that I guess was inevitable.
And also, he does keep having flashbacks to that giant beast man telling him that if he keeps hanging out with Griffith,
that could be
bad stuff is gonna happen. So I liked it of him being I don't know if our dream, because it's I don't have the ambition that you have.
I just don't think it's gonna work out.
Because every now and then he'll flash back to that giant winged demon telling him don't hang out with this guy.
Yeah.
If you hang out with him, you will see less days.
A death you will never escape.
Yeah, he's
it's I don't have the same dream. So I think I should leave.
It's not me, it's you. It's not you, it's me.
Yeah.
My dream fire is but an ember to your mighty blaze. And I have to go now.
Oh,
and then Casca's but what if we come across Nosferatu Zod again? And he's but a dream? is far more valuable than enemy after enemy, Casca. It does. That's a great point.
Yeah. I think he had that always in the back of his mind.
We do find out that he does go train for that reason, to be stronger in case he comes across.
Because everyone sort of
that.
just moved on.
Yeah, how have you moved on from that?
The only person I'm aware of that is like Guts is just constantly remembering that giant demon that gave us that cryptic warning. And he doesn't talk about it, but you just see in flashback, it's always in the back of his head.
Yeah, and you realize like how many other people were there.
Yeah,
and
they're like, it's fine.
Chilling?
It's fine. They forgot about it. It's cool.
That guy was
That was weird, right?
Yeah.
Woo!
Yeah.
Anyway,
okay.
But they do have that beautiful moment, and they talk about dreams and Guts' dream not being there, and the inferno of Griffith's dream, and that was just a beautiful way to say that.
He goes, I gotta go.
Yeah, I gotta go, and Casca's like,
I am but a twig to the inferno of, and
look,
my twig must in the breeze.
In the breeze, I must be taken away. Casca, I gotta get out of here, dude. That thing's gonna come back.
Which, I mean, no one talks about that guy.
Yeah, nobody talks about
that.
But
guy. That was a very beautiful scene.
Yeah, it was beautiful, and Casca doesn't want to see him go, and she doesn't even think. She hopes, I think, secretly at this point that he will stay, but he's pretty much saying like, I'm gonna finish whatever we gotta finish. But then after that, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
And Griffith's thing as well. I mean, I did beat you in a fight to say I own you.
Yeah.
So, which was your deal, by the way.
Yeah, but that we're not quite there yet, because then the whole battle of Daldry happens with the purple rhinos and
and the return of
the
man who
with the return of Jared Fogle.
God.
I was trying, like, who...
Honestly, you did the best that could have been done in that situation.
And they, like... I like that. Before...
I appreciate what you did.
Like, Casca, the reveal, it's like, Guts is all playing fucking dice, and he's just, like, hanging out and having fun and laughing and being so cute. And Casca's like, you know who the governor or whatever? You know who that is? Remember that little conversation that we had? He's like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
So, that's the man.
And immediately we see this guy... And he's, he's a gross man, and he's just like bathing. And I don't know if in the manga he was bathing, but in the movie he was bathing with these boys. And in the movie, what was crazy is that in the manga, he's just being, I think, served by these boys.
Yeah, he is.
And because
they say like, he likes boys.
Yes.
And then you make the connection.
Yeah, but in the movie, because they cut out the whole thing that happened in the beginning. To let you know that there's something between him and Griffith, one of the boys that he's bathing with looks exactly like Griffith. Like, exactly like Griffith. His hair, everything about him. And so you're left, it's up to you to connect those dots. But, yeah, so, Griffith has this whole plan because nobody thinks this fortress of Daldry can be taken. They've been trying to take it for hundreds of years. And the reason that they can't succeed is because it's an impenetrable sort of force.
And they have like a lot of men and
no amount of men and these the purple rhinos defending it. But Griffith has this plan, and coincidentally, the governor, the lord, whoever this guy is, he plays into Griffith's plan and palm really because they and again, this goes into the strategic side of warfare, which I do find more interesting than just sort of these like fights between Guts and Bosco, in which there is something interesting that does happen. But Griffith's plan is to he's going to take one group, they're going to ride up to the wall and basically lure them back. There's a river behind them, so he's covering his bases. The opposing army knows that they have nowhere to run. And I think Griffith is banking on this guy not wanting to kill him, wanting to, get one more night with him.
Be with him. Yeah. And exactly. That's exactly what he did.
It doesn't even say like, I'll get one more.
Yes.
One more round.
No, I think he means like, I'm going to have you forever.
Well, I mean, he does. What is interesting about this character, it's a layer of depth that I don't think we necessarily need, but he does seem like not just he is a slimy, gross guy, period.
But the interaction he had with Griffith was mutual.
Well,
he felt it
was. And I think like what's interesting about him is like the way he talks about Griffith is like he's genuinely like in love and obsessed
Yeah.
with him. Not like he's just like, ooh, this pretty little boy.
No, he's like in love.
Yeah, he's like,
Like,
remember
that's
that
the love
night,
of his
that night
life.
we had together?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
He banks on that. They're able to lure, because Boscon, the leader of the rhinos, is like, I don't think we should go after them. This seems kind of weird. They have a reputation. They never lose. Like, we should hold back.
Yeah.
He comes down like, nah, let's go after them.
They've won every battle, but they haven't fought us. And
Yeah.
that's what every other army they fought that lost didn't have.
That's what they all say.
Oh wait, Boscon, is that the guy that looks like The Rock?
Kind of, yeah.
Remember that guy? I panel and he's like the other generals coming up the stairs and he's like, I was like, oh my god, it's The Rock, Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
Yeah, he could.
Yeah,
he
and
could
then he was like, fuck
yeah.
you. If you do this again, I'm gonna fucking kill you.
Yeah, I mean,
This guy needs to be dead already.
The clown
was the
Adon
count?
comes back.
Yeah, that guy.
The return of those wacky counts and their schemes.
Yeah, he's a fool. But so they're able to lure him away, and while they lure him away, Casca and her second unit go in and take care of the remaining forces within the wall.
Mm-hmm.
And then Guts has his fight with Boscon, which during his sword gets broken, and magically, mysteriously, a sword just falls from the sky. We see this like shadowy figure on a cliff, and this sword just falls from the sky.
How convenient.
Yeah, there's a figure that there's a character that comes on later that I thought was really cool. And I think it's that guy.
The guy, because we've seen the guy who or we know who the guy that left the sword was, and we've seen him before.
Mm-hmm.
It was Nosferatu Zod.
Mm-hmm. It was him again.
He's seemingly like playing behind.
I thought it was the Skull Knight guy.
No, he comes later.
No, that guy comes later, and he's like, I don't know, he gets like smaller and bigger. He's like the human and then it's like
he's the human version of Berserk or Guts' sword, which that sword. There's no definite size of that thing. Man. I mean, I wanted to make like that version of his sword, and so I'm like referring to panels, and some panels it's like right up to his head, and other panels he's like hugging it, and it's like way like it's huge. It doesn't follow the rules of reality.
I like that the fights are like specific, like they still have to target weak points and stuff where they have to go through the breaks in armor and stuff, even with that giant sword. I am just like, I can't wait till that crossbow arm comes into play here. I'm still waiting for the crossbow arm.
Me too.
I feel like
that adds so much more enjoyment for the fights for me.
I feel like I don't know if it's gonna happen at the end of the Golden Age arc, but I feel like it has to.
Yeah, if everyone's like, well, if it's like, well, why can't I appreciate Berserk until you finish the Golden Age arc? Oh, because then that's when he gets his arm. I'd be like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because I just want that arm so bad, man.
I want that arm bad. Too.
Was I wrong, or was someone like, did Corkus drop lines that were like, oh man, you deserve to have an arm?
Oh yeah, he did.
Johnson was just like, don't. Yeah, he was like, classic Corkus the Prophet.
Corkus the Prophet, dude.
If he ends up giving Guts the arm,
oh my god.
At this point, I want Corkus to be like the most important character.
I feel that Corkus is gonna do something to redeem himself.
He had that moment. We'll talk about it later with Guts, but nothing is really.
Something's gotta happen.
Even in the moment that you were like, oh fuck, he's coming up, he was like, okay.
He at this point, like, he has to serve some purpose.
Yeah.
Because otherwise he's just been there.
It was just like, oh, Corkus is back.
And nothing's changed.
No.
Old Corky's the same.
Old Corky making like the hilarious man, you deserve to lose an arm, and I'm like,
oh god.
They do drop another Easter egg later, and I think maybe that line was specifically to sort of foreshadow that. And there's another.
Well,
line.
Obviously,
obviously, but there's another line too where they like foreshadow some really cool shit, and it's like a character
stuff we haven't seen yet, or
stuff that we have seen but not. We've seen like in the Black Swordsman arc, but we haven't seen.
I think that's called past shadowing.
Well, it's all over the place.
Forward shadowing.
Past foreshadowing.
Past shadowing for things to come.
There you go. I like it. Patent pending.
Let's put this in the past, like real quick.
Yeah, let's move on.
Yeah. Let's fast forward.
There we go.
We find out that Nosferatu Zod drops that sword down. He's able to beat Boscon, and Casca has this, like, again, this is where I'm thinking this guy should be fucking dead. This ridiculously outdrawn, long, very funny comedic battle with Adon or whatever.
So funny. And she's just like so annoyed. Like, she even gets shot. Is like, I don't have time for this. Like, you're a fucking idiot. Like, I do not have time for you. And like, she goes, he was like a liar. Like, he says like, I have men, and she's like, you're lying. And that like funny face she uses, like, I do not lie.
Yeah,
and I was watching the anime like with the manga, reading it. It's just hilarious.
He does his second secret move, which is pretend to beg for your life.
Yeah. He's the Reagan of the group.
He is, yeah.
Very like funny, like thing, because whatever like the reactions are, like she has a pure comedy reaction to that guy, like okay, and then she gets shot with a tranquilizer bow.
Yeah, she gets shot with like a poisonous arrow, but I guess it's not enough poison to really like be fatal. Either way, he finally does he? Oh yeah, she finally kills him. She finally kills him. He finally dies.
Jesus
finally,
Christ.
Doing a lot of like backflips and stuff.
Yes, and we do get to see her kind of like her fighting style, and he is like shocked that she's good at fighting now, because when he first met her, she's been sick the whole time. And so she's able to take him out pretty easily.
Yeah, she's like, you motherfucker. You don't even know my full power.
Yeah. But then after that, let's see, where did we leave off? Okay. So now they win the battle. They finally claimed Doldry, and that colonel, not governor.
Oh yeah, they have that moment.
Confronted by Griffith.
Yeah.
And he's like, hey man, you know, the old time's sake.
Don't you love me? I thought we loved each other.
Yeah.
And he's like, you think I fucking loved you, dumbass?
But what I love about, because like there's a lot of parallels in these two I guess the two deluxe volumes, promo code Josh Michaels. But there's a lot of parallels. Like we get to see sort of how like Griffith reacted to sort of this like uncomfortable sexual situation with an older man versus how Guts has reacted to it. Granted, they were very different situations, but you know, there are a lot of parallels, I think, with also a sex scene, not to jump too far ahead, that we get to see with Griffith, and then another one that we get to see with Guts, and just like how different they are, and how there's things that they go through that are, while different, similar, and how they both react drastically different to them. But with and I'll get to the other thing when we get there, but with this specifically, like Griffith obviously had a choice in what he did with this guy, and Guts didn't. But the way that Griffith even carries himself now when this man approaches him is not anger. He's not angry. He's not bitter. He's not mad. He's just very calm, composed, collected. And he's like, I don't care about you.
You're a pebble in the road.
Yeah.
I don't. We're on the way to my journey.
Yeah.
I need you to do that for money. And also, I mean, I'm just gonna kill you.
He's like, I don't want you to talk anymore. You'll tell people about what happened.
We're in the middle of a battlefield, dude.
Yeah. And you're on the wrong side, buddy.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's
dead bitch.
I just like that he was so composed. I like that he didn't, because it showed that Griffith was in control. All the way up until this point, he's been in control. And he's about to lose.
Well, he's the master of controlling his, emotions at the time. So it's
at the time, and you know, and Casca does mention that he does go back and forth. That there does seem to be like two Griffiths, in a way, not dramatically, but that he has another side to him.
He's probably a Gemini.
Probably. He's probably a Gemini.
I can see him being a Gemini, Guts being maybe like I was gonna say Sagittarius, or maybe a Taurus. And then Casca's more of a Taurus, or maybe she'd be a Pisces. I'll look up their birthdays later.
Also, like these aren't things to they have birthdays.
Yeah, they have birthdays.
This isn't even a thing to speculate on.
I'll look it up, and if I'm right, I'm right.
Yeah, she just wants to see if she can predict it.
First of all, Guts is an Aquarius.
Psych.
Casca might be an Aquarius.
Anti-psych.
Anti-psych.
Oh, but my favorite part. Well, not my favorite part, but my favorite part when they go back home.
Oh yeah.
And they go to a party and Guts in fancy clothes.
Yeah.
Ah!
This was drawn out in the movie a lot. This was like a huge focal point of the movie.
Yeah.
And they spent a lot of time on just seeing the Hawks in this really noble, elegant setting, and it is funny.
It's so much
some
fun.
Solid blushing moments from Guts.
Oh my
just
god,
being
as soon as
like,
they Guts, are you fucking kidding me? Are you dude, like, oh my god, you actually won the battle. And he's just like, I don't know what to do with myself right now.
Yeah.
And all the girls and like Corkus is like
Loving
fucking getting some.
Bro, in the movie.
I like how he's like stumbling though. He's like,
Okay.
oh well, I mean, I didn't like do that much.
Yeah, I know.
So in the manga, Corkus is obviously loving it, right? But in the movie, when they're riding back in from Doldry to go to this like ceremony, he just picks a random girl up off the street, throws her reverse cowgirl on his horse, and just starts making out with her.
Because he's a fucking...
I don't know if reverse... Oh, maybe if it is a horse.
That's why I said it.
Okay.
That's why I said it.
Did you think, were you setting that up? Or?
No, as I was saying it, I realized that I could do that.
Okay, because it was, I mean, she was just sitting on a horse. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, all right.
But yeah, I was like...
props to you.
Thank you. I did not expect to see him be so aggressive, but in the movie, he's just like, yeah, I deserve this. Come here, doll. And he like
That's
throws
such a
her
fucking
on.
soldier mentality. Fucking Corkus
Well, that's
is
what
trash.
that famous World War II shot of the soldier, and it was like, oh, he didn't know that girl.
No, that was not
And
against.
she was
That
like,
was
no,
against
I
her
wasn't.
will.
I didn't want that at all. And everyone's like, oh, that's beautiful.
But that was a cute scene, and like Guts is like, oh, I don't know. And of course, everyone just thinks Griffith is fucking hot. So all the girls are like, running to him and like fawning over him. And we see Casca talking to these guys, and she's just like, they never fucking seen a woman fucking warrior before, blah blah. And Gus is like,
they have more moments where Casca says like, it's in these moments that Griffith feels so far away from me. And she's just really going through it.
Yeah.
And he's still being the wingman. And he's still like, go talk to him.
I know. She's
Go
like, why don't
hang
you
out
dance?
with
He's
him.
like, why don't you dance with him? And in the movie, they dance, which
Yeah,
they
the
do
movie,
not
they
do in the
also
manga.
do this thing where they like, I think it's important that Griffith, the princess, is there in the manga. And she's given him this like, this, I don't know, this token of her love. And they're supposed
like a
to
stone.
a magnet
Mhm.
that draws them together, whatever. And he purposely in the manga like ignores her. Not, I don't know if purposely, but he just like, she sees him and she's like waving and he doesn't
Classic.
see her or acknowledge her.
Classic
Does Guts
fucking move.
Know how to dance?
He doesn't dance in the manga.
In the anime, does
Yeah,
he
he doesn't.
dance?
He,
Well,
he
Yeah, he
dances
dances,
in the
yeah.
movie.
Yeah.
They have like, well, not dance, but Casca's just like,
Yeah.
they're like spinning and it's so
Yeah.
cute.
Yeah.
It's
They
so
really
cute.
like when they were writing that movie, they were like, we gotta extend this. We're gonna cut out all the other stuff.
No, they really did.
Yeah.
They really
Nobody
did.
wants to see battles. People want to see ballrooms.
Yeah,
Oh,
people
yeah.
want to see really bad CGI of the same type of person 4 times over. You won't really notice, but you will.
Yeah.
And everyone else having fun. That's what we
what we
gotta
came
focus.
for.
Yeah, that's what we came for.
There was something that was a game out of Mass Effect, but like you play a Space Commander, and like in the game you can have your character go to a club and he can dance, and everyone was like noticing your character like dances like really badly, and the series goes on, and like as it goes on, they kind of talk about how the fact he's never learned how to dance. So like they talk about well, they're a soldier, so they wouldn't know.
Yeah, that makes
Yeah.
sense.
That's why
yeah.
I think it's weird if Guts would just know how to.
Yeah,
dance.
he doesn't. He's not
He
good
did,
at
her
it.
and him and Casca both. That's why she's like, I'm not gonna go dance with Griffith. I don't fucking know how to dance.
Yeah, and she's getting hit on.
Yeah, because like that's based on the culture where dancing is a very like practiced and formal event.
It's like
you
it's
don't
like
even
the
get
mambo.
Yeah.
You don't even get to just like shuffle your arms around and be like,
I mean,
hey.
maybe Corkus
No.
is in the corner doing that. I don't know.
I don't know.
If the anime had Corkus in the corner dancing, I would.
Yeah, he's like dabbing or he's doing something. Yeah, he's flossing in the corner.
No, that would be a fucking Rickett.
Oh, Rickert. Yeah.
Oh, Rickert.
Yeah,
And he's like dancing with some older girls. I'm like, how old is this fucking kid?
Yeah, he's a baby and he doesn't age. I don't know. He's been the same age since they met him.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they have this like moment, and it's a nice moment. I think it's important that Griffith doesn't acknowledge the princess yet. They have this whole announcement. The king comes out and tells everybody in the kingdom that Griffith and his band of hawks are going to be promoted to being the White Phoenix Knights, and he's going to be commander of the White Phoenix Knights.
Yup.
And there's a lot of people who aren't very happy about that. The queen being one of these people who we find out had a love affair with Julius, and we're let into a lot of their history.
Very Game of Thrones.
Very Game of Thrones, that they had a love affair, and that this was actually the king's second wife, that he's apparently never gotten over his first wife.
And we know.
By the way, I want to cut back to Megan in our previous episode.
Don't. I wrote it down. I wrote, oh my God.
Yeah, that king's really cool.
He's not a cool king. He's not tyrannical king. I take it back. I take it all back. I was dumb. I was naive.
Yeah, Griffith made a remark, and I'm like, that's pretty insulting. Good thing he's wrong, though.
Oh, yeah.
The king takes one of the hardest.
Yeah, it was like
turns,
immediately like, whoa, he's like little mind tech. He called it.
He nailed it.
God, nailed it on the fucking head while he was getting nailed with a fucking whip.
Yeah, dude. I mean,
It
hardest
is
turns.
wild that that's how Griffith's story would have ended too. It is like all that set up to like,
Oh my
just
God.
like time to make my move on the princess.
Yeah, I mean, it ends up being like really, really purposeful story wise. But yeah, what a way to go out after all that.
I had to go back because I'm like, did I miss? Because like, he was declared royalty, which by the way is how like that's like based on like true things back then. The reason like mercenaries were popular is the nobles could fight each other without like getting the military involved, and they would like you could move up that way.
So they moved up, and then people were like, we're not gonna have this, so let's just poison this fucker now.
The return of the zany shenanigans.
The fucking egg bitch.
Well, it comes from because she loved Julius, so she picked up a few things from him because he was the same guy who concocted the first shenanigan.
Yeah. Don't you realize that poison doesn't it work on this man?
Mm-hmm.
It does not work on this man. Why would you try that again?
Yeah, he does the classic Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah, he does.
Where he gets the drug, he swaps it out for a drug that almost will like make him seem dead.
Mm-hmm.
But we also see that
he like falls to the floor almost immediately.
Yeah,
very quickly.
Oh my God!
But there's this group of them who are with the queen. One of which gets like a letter and makes reacts to it, and is kind of being weird the rest of the time. And then we find out that the queen enacted her plan. Everything seems to be going according to it. And they're in another meeting room shortly after. And they were pronounced noble men, but I think it was going to take like a month for it to go through or something
Just
file. Like government,
they gotta file the paperwork.
Yeah.
Just like our fucking...
once again, bureaucracy.
Once again, our Senate is...
oh my God, in Congress. Hot air.
Congress.
More like not fair.
Stalemate.
Congress, opposite of progress.
Oh.
Get that on a shirt, dude.
I think it is.
That's a famous hack.
Yeah.
Observation. If progress is the opposite of...
Well, anyway, their little meeting room starts to get filled with smoke. It's being set on fire. Griffith has plans, dude. He's taking them all out.
Yeah, this is where it dips into some heist writing, which I'm a sucker for.
Yeah. He's outside just like, they're like, what are you doing, you fool? And he's like, you guys are going to burn.
Yeah.
Fucking evil ass.
Yeah. But I mean, again, at this point too, Griffith hasn't really done anything like evil.
You know what? It makes sense if Griffith is like riding off the high of so many wins that's why he would just be like, and I'll just get the princess too.
No, I mean, the reason that he does what I think he ends up doing is because of what happens with him and Guts, and he's just so fucked up after that.
Yeah, that's exactly why he did it. That's exactly why he did it.
He's like very impulsive, and he's very just like, emotionally fucked.
Yeah.
But it does like, to that point, like Griffith, everything he's done so far is he's only like killed people who have tried to kill him. He hasn't like, even Julius tried to kill him. I mean, like he hasn't done anything evil. Which again, I know how he ends up, so I'm thinking like, what's this guy up to? And he's just like taking care of himself and the Band of the Hawk.
Yeah.
And he does make Guts his assassin again, and these other, I don't even want to call them mercenaries, but I guess they are. This other group of like bandits, thieves.
They hire out.
They hire to have the daughter of the Eggman, right?
What?
Is that in the anime
Rock.
only?
I think the Rock character.
No. Am I thinking?
Oh, that's in the manga. Yeah. So
yeah.
So the Guts kills the guys that went to go burn the tower, and then they kill everybody involved except for that guy.
Eggman.
Because they blackmailed.
Yeah, exactly.
Because he has a daughter. And which was a little weird, but
we're like, okay. I mean, I guess he's just a slump like sleazebag. And he'll have to live with how he did that. And now that Griffith has that power over him, and he's like, oh, you were involved with the Queen's assassination.
Well, no, this guy has no backbone. This guy's
He's
scared.
a politician.
He's a classic politician.
Yeah.
But yeah, and after that, which also, by the way, the whole Queen arc, they cut that entirely from the movie. The Queen is not in it at all, and so neither is her death. Yeah. So then that's when everything's coming up Griffith. Everything's going according to plan. and the battle's done, the ceremony's done, everything's settling down. Guts decides, all right, now's the time for me to go. And he starts to set off, and is stopped by At first he stopped by Judea, whatever his name is.
Judea? I thought it was Casca first.
Well, Casca, no. Remember Casca has her hands in her little fur coat on the top of the hill with everybody
Yeah, but
else.
that's like after.
That was later.
Casca stops him, and then Judea's like, let's go talk at the bar or whatever with fucking Corkus. So yeah, Casca sees him, and like, I don't know why she's still trying to stop him, but then she has the bright idea, oh, if I tell Griffith, he might stop him. Yeah. So then she leaves, and then they're like, let's go have a talk, buddy. And then they go to the bar, and then Corkus is like, you're fucking dumb, and you're a child, and you should fucking step up, and that whole speech. What did you think about that?
About Corkus trying to convince Guts?
He wasn't even trying to convince him. He's just like annoyed with what he was saying. Like, I don't think he wanted him to go in the Band of the Hawks. I don't think that's what he was trying to do. I think he was just like sick of his shit.
I mean, I can kind of see how Corkus is probably like the most realistic person to be a mercenary band.
Yes.
Because, you know, those talks about dreams and stuff, those are nice, but that's not. I mean, this is a band of mercenaries.
It's not how the world works.
And Corkus is the guy to the Dream Point who says, like, look, man, we all got fucking dreams, dude. Dreams don't pay the bills. Dreams don't, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and it is like, the Judea guy is like, yeah, my dream is, you know, whatever. I just do this, and I'm happy with doing this.
Mm-hmm.
I had to find my own kind of place and purpose.
So, I mean, there is a thing about a guy being like, yeah, I mean, my dream doth not reach what, and he's like, just shut up, man.
Yeah, you're being a child.
I understand, but look, as someone who wants to follow his own dreams, dude, you know, I connect with Guts and Griffith too, to be honest.
Well, you wouldn't connect with Guts because Guts doesn't have a dream.
But he's going out, but like he doesn't like.
You connect with Griffith, is what you're saying.
I connect with Griffith.
Yeah.
But also, Guts is like, he's not fulfilled. You know, there's nothing like going to work, clocking in, and being like, is this it? Is this all there is? And then you don't really know, like, you know, what else is there? Like, this can't be, I can't do this and then just die. You know, and I think that's where Guts is at.
Little do we know.
What fools we are.
My dream doth fade.
Yeah, and then meanwhile, you're stuck
20 years
working
being like, this isn't what we're doing, and then you die.
You're stuck at a dead-end job with a manager named Corkus, and
my God.
that's your life.
Yeah.
That's your life.
You're not even Corkus. You're the guy.
Not even Corkus.
You're the guy taking orders from Corkus.
Yep, that's life. But yeah, and so they try to give him this speech. They try to tell him, and Judea, or I'm gonna keep messing his name up.
I think it's Judea.
Judea. I'll just call him that. Sorry.
Let's call him Jay.
Let's call him J Dog.
J Dog.
He tries to tell him, like, look, man, I don't get it, but he's like, I don't get it, but I get it. Like, do whatever you got to do. If that helps you, if you get even a little close to figuring it out, then that's a victory. Like, he's a good friend.
I know, he totally is, and he's like, why don't you get with Casca, you fucking idiot?
Oh, yeah, he does tell him.
And he's like, no.
Very, do you not?
Yeah, I know. I know. He's like, no, they're gonna get together.
Yeah, that scene of Guts being like, and how could she ever recognize someone like me? And the guy's just like, I mean, come on, look at what you're doing right now.
Well, also he tells her, like, he's like, dude, you got to think about it. Dude, Griffith is Griffith. He's got his plan.
He has the plan with the princess,
like, the princess
which
is
we
knew. The easiest way for him to finish climbing the ladder. Like, there's no room for Casca, dude.
That shot of Guts with like, I don't know, like almost cherry blossoms being like, what woman would notice me?
Oh
and
my
then
God,
him just being like, really?
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Well, yeah, because to everybody else, like, he is the man.
He's more than the man.
Yeah.
He's the fucking. My man.
Oh, he's more than the man. He's my man.
Yeah. I love him more and more. It hurts.
I know. And dude, I mean, we see some moments with him, dude, where he finally does start to open up a little bit even more.
I know.
And but he goes and leaves anyway. They walk him up the hill, and then everybody's up on
Everyone's
the
fucking
hill.
there.
Yeah, and Griffith is there as well. And Judeo has that line, what's taken by the sword must be won back by the sword, or taken back by the sword. And so Griffith and Guts battle it out again.
Very solid splash pages.
Yeah, which was one of my favorite parts in the movie. If you watched it when, like, you know, the snow falls and that's when they go to strike, like, that was the best part of the movie to me. Like, that scene alone was just like, wow, this is perfect. This is absolutely perfect.
Yeah, but what they don't nail necessarily, I think, is just like Griffith's, because in the
sadness.
I mean, yeah, and defeat,
despair,
dude. Yeah, I mean, like
in the manga, it's like that. It is pretty desperate.
Everything, like he is shocked. Like this is the first time we've seen a plan of his not go the way he thought it was going to go, and he even says in the manga too, which I loved. He's calculating. We get an inner monologue from Griffith where he says like, "Look, I've been kind of like doing the noble thing for a while, and Guts has been on, the front line in every battle. Like he's probably a lot stronger than me at this point, so I have to come in sort of this way and do this."
Yeah, I liked where it was like I could win by killing him, but he doesn't want to do that.
Yeah,
but he knows if I don't, then he might kill me.
Yeah.
So the thing is like, I mean, because he likes him, he's like, I'm not going to go for the kill, even though, I mean, that is how to win a fight.
Yeah.
So it is a nice thing. Like, Guts does win, but because he had more of a will to go forward than, like, even Griffith did.
Yeah, and he doesn't kill him, obviously. That's, like, the same, like, type
But he does. But, I mean, like...
He goes for the move where Griffith was sort of like, I don't know how to approach this.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's more sure about like sort of what he needs and wants and has to do. And even Griffith sees the resolve in his eyes. He's like, damn, it really be like that, huh?
It really be like that,
Yeah.
huh, Guts? You really leaving me, huh, Guts? My buddy, my main man, my pal.
Yeah, that's the thing, is for all the thing about Guts not having a dream. He is sure of himself to want to leave, and then Griffith isn't sure of how he feels about Guts. So it's like a nice little...
Yeah, because...
Now who knows what they're doing
And
with
then
their
we
life?
get that monologue where he's like, I was just... the pebble in the road.
I was but a twig in the winds of fate.
I was this. You're gonna be fine.
Well, it's also because it's also
whenever
Griffith's fault.
Yeah.
That Nosferatu guy comes back, do not call me.
Well, I mean, but I mean, who knows where I'll be? I'll be following my dream. I do know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which will be over here.
Yeah.
And oh my God, you're going that way.
Yeah.
That's
and he just says bye.
But another pebble stone in the walks of fate.
In the walks of life, in the sand of the hourglass of time.
These are the days of our lives.
Yes. But yeah, he does walk away.
Damn.
He does leave, and Griffith is laying in the snow, just defeated.
Yeah.
This look of horror on his face, like what is going to happen? This was, I think for a lot of reasons, right? And everything is conveyed in his eyes and on his face that this was a person who was not only important to his plan, but he's starting to realize, I think, was important to him on an emotional level at some point. This is where I'm starting to believe why the brand of the sacrifice is going to work, because Griffith is coming to terms with the fact that like I like need this guy, and why he's starting to question his feelings for Guts in a lot of ways. Like, why do I feel everything when I think of him? Like I feel happy, I feel full of rage, I feel full of jealousy, I feel full of like all these things. And I mean, I get it.
Yeah.
But we cut to like a year. Well, actually, that night before we cut to
that
a year.
That night.
You know what we
That's
all
when we
classic
get the,
breakup. Right when you break up with
exactly
someone,
what I
I
was
need
gonna
I need a one night
We've
stand.
all been
I'm
there.
going to the bar. I don't give a fuck who it
my
is.
heart's hurting. My
I'm
man
taking
just left
it
me.
out.
Yeah.
I'm taking it out tonight. Let's go,
I'm
bitches.
gonna call my side piece, who I know is a guaranteed lay.
Guaranteed lay, but not good. But
Not
hey,
a good one.
And as a child.
Okay, all right. Well,
Which, I kind of went over that part. He's an actual...
God, okay, Cody. Yeah,
Well,
that I was thinking about that. I was thinking about that the whole time. I was like, oh my God.
This is when I saw Griffith do something that was definitely like, okay, you are fucked up, and you are manipulative, and
Vampire
you
Griffith.
use people.
Well, yeah, dude, he's with the princess for sure. He's manipulating her and using her, but also like this is what I was talking about with the comparisons and the sort of parallels between the two sex scenes. Is with Griffith, like he's at times like forcing himself on her, like at times.
Well,
He's like forcing himself to do it.
That's what. Yeah, he's forcing himself and on her.
And on her.
Both. Yeah,
It's like he's doing this thing that was like pretty wrong, and it's weird because he's not even like into it.
yeah.
Yeah.
But at some points, she's straight up saying like no,
Yeah.
and he's like, "What are you scared?"
Yeah.
And to
Oh my
me, it's just like
God.
this is where like his true nature starts to come out a little bit, or like this like darker, evil side of him starts to come out.
Because he was manipulating that princess like emotionally, and then you see that like he's very good at manipulating people.
I drew his eye because it was so blank and like scary, and it was just like this is like autopilot mode. I was like, holy
that's what it is.
shit!
He's like checked out. Like he's like doing what he has to do, and he's like, not there. Which maybe
not what he has to do.
Well, I mean, what he thinks he has to do, which is probably the same vacant eyes that he had while he was, with that one night with the other guy.
He reacts afterwards the same way, which is interesting because I mean you were the aggressor in that situation, but he does still like hold himself.
Very
Which it's a weird combo.
Graphic.
Very graphic
as well. I was not expecting that at all. I was like, okay, it's just gonna be one shot, and I was like, oh, pages.
It also seems like
the story becomes much more sexual around this point.
Yeah, and I also feel like he was very aggressive with her, not only in his like actions, but in physically aggressive with her.
Well, it was.
Like it almost seemed like it was painful for her.
It was a grown soldier who barged into a child's room.
I mean, it probably was. It was like her first time. So
it was her first time, but also like that aside, like he had no really like outside of all the other reasons why it was wrong. Like he didn't care if she
exactly.
You know what I mean? Like,
exactly. Yeah, it wasn't like
there's a thing in the past and in some cultures still where it's like if you assault a woman, they would prefer that you marry them so they don't have like the shame of that. That still goes on today. The book, I'm not saying it's like cool.
No one said that.
I'm just making sure.
No.
Just an observation that like and like in Don Quixote, like like that happens to a character. Which Don Quixote is like a comedy, but they have a character who like talk about how a noble just like entered their room. They had no real say in what happened, and then it was either like marry them or live with that.
Jesus.
And that so it is this what Griffith did because he just got announced at Noel, not unreal, especially for like a power move of like. What's it going to be? Are you going to marry me, princess, or this?
Exactly, and I think that was like the main thing. I mean, obviously, it was just like she already loved him,
right?
Like in the beginning.
Well, she had a crush on him.
I mean, she pretty much, a huge crush on him. She's like, oh, like she, whatever. So this was just like, oh, like this really was just like,
but
oh my God, he loves me.
What happened with Guts? I think really like pushed his timetable forward a lot. Like, he realized like
because he was making moves of like I'm going to talk about dreams in front of this girl, and then she's going to want to marry me. I'll marry her. Her dad will die. I become king. That was like the motion set in place. And when Guts leaves, I'm gonna
straight
really just kickstart my plan here. And you see that like his dream. He will do morally bad things also to get this dream. It's not. Having a dream in and of itself isn't like a great thing.
And he's like thinking of Guts during it, and he's just like having flashbacks and then obviously, how big is that keyhole, by the way? Huge keyhole.
Well,
he
famously,
can't even fit in there.
Keys were, I mean, that had to be like massive because like you didn't have the tools to make little keys.
I guess you're right.
I'm
but
lying.
It was huge.
That was good.
I believed it. I totally believed it. It's huge keyhole.
Huge keyhole.
She's like,
I don't know how keys work.
Yeah,
I don't get how there can be
actually
how there can be more than 5 keys that don't all work together.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, it's the pins. And
well, no, I get, but like how does like they know for a fact that this house key won't work on the house.
I know. You think like how many variations of keys
of pins can there be? There's like what 5 pins?
Yeah, I like how sensitive and
it's like credit cards. Like how many number variations can happen.
Numbers can be infinite. I feel.
Yeah, I mean you could.
But if you only have 4 pins, like how many times?
Fuck me. Sorry. It's not infinite. Griffith's luck.
Oh, wow. Great.
Runs out.
Yeah.
Please keep that face so that they can snapshot that for the next fucking Discord meme, please.
You know what, Megan? You did it.
You
did it again.
But yeah, one of the maids
sees. Yeah, fuck yeah. She sees it full on.
Runs to tell everybody. Griffith escapes out the window the next morning. I mean, yeah, but what are you going to do?
Well, I mean, I don't know if that's how you describe reporting.
Yeah,
no, it's not. No, it's not. I didn't mean that. It was just like funny. But yeah, he's trying to sneak out, and he gets
was he sneaking out? It looks like he just kind of walked out.
I mean, probably.
He went out the front door, didn't he?
He went out the window.
The window.
Yeah.
How he came.
And he comes.
How he
Oh, you mean okay?
That
all right.
too.
I was like,
Maybe
whoa.
I know
what the
that too. Sorry. No, how he came
he's
in.
immediately confronted by guards who take him in for treason.
Like 100 guards.
Yeah.
A lot of
dude.
guards, but it makes sense as to why, because someone holds this princess a little too precious. And they're in this torture chamber where we get to meet the torturer.
Oh my god.
Who
There's so
is
many
a horrifying
times
creature.
I like barfed. I was like,
yeah.
like I was like, ew, 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 ew.
And I was
ew.
wondering like how much they were going to really lean into that character in the movie, and they leaned all the way in.
Yeah.
I mean, he's horrifying.
Yeah.
Now, I've been for the king up until this because I haven't seen him do anything specifically wrong. He seemed pretty reasonable.
He seemed like a cool
and he
king.
is like, you assaulted. I was like, you assaulted my daughter. Like
you snuck in.
Like for nobility, that mattered a lot too. Like
yeah,
that,
because now
like
she
that,
can't marry anyone.
culturally, like that. I was like, yeah, like Griffith, you like really ruined a child's life right now. And the Griffith's like, oh, did you want to save her for yourself? And I'm like, whoa, Griffith, why would you say that?
Griffith, what are you talking about?
No.
You're just trying to get out of this conversation.
Where the fuck did that come
and
from?
then the
like,
king,
whoa.
King's face is just like, what are you talking about? And it must have been so awkward for the people in the room because they're just like,
Because like even that, I'm like, that's an appropriate. If someone tells you like that's how you feel about your daughter, you would get like mad and start.
Of
yeah.
course.
Like you assaulted my daughter.
Yeah, how about no, Griffith? She's my daughter.
Yeah, you
and
fucking
I just
sicko.
I don't want a grown soldier fucking my daughter. How
Yeah,
about
I
that?
was just like, man, Griffith is just pushing everyone's.
oh, next page.
What is what?
Truly
Ah,
to me.
some sort of nightmare sequence.
Another one. Oh, where's Gambino? He's
Yeah,
gonna show
where's
up, right?
Gambino? Yeah.
Nightmares just
No.
keep on happening. Oh, the whole
Truly.
book is a dream. It would seem.
We've seen Zod. We've seen horrifying, creatures, but none is horrifying as the face and the king himself
Oh
and what he does and how he's drawn and how
God.
it's depicted him slowly peeling off the layers of his daughter's clothing
God.
with this like almost this face of like shame and fear and like he's disgusted
But
with
he's
himself.
doing it.
But he's just like, and he's like, bro, licking her nipple. I mean, it
I
was
wanted to
like,
die.
Yeah, very.
And it's so horrible. Like it's such a. Oh my god. And then
felt like the plays of old, talking about nobility and
yeah,
the shenanigans they get up to.
Oh my god. It was.
cut me out of those shenanigans.
Because it is a thing where it's common knowledge that royalty is inbred.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's very
You know,
true.
You don't really think about the consequence of
Keeping
what
the bloodline pure.
yeah, what that entails.
Yeah,
It
and
is-
he went mad
Because people are
Yeah.
alive. We know people alive that are
Oh yeah.
they're in like royal inbred, and it's there's
And
dude,
her,
it's
she just wakes up and
horrifying.
she's horrified.
And she's horrified.
She's like,
and
"What the fuck did I just wake up to?"
I did
Which
like that
makes-
she fought him off. That
Of
was,
course.
That was the
Yeah.
night that she didn't completely freak out.
And he's like, "No, shut."
Well, it also
Starts
it's also
bashing
like
his face. And
it's also shown, at least it seems, that this was the first time this had happened. So
Mhm.
Griffith must have really unlocked something in this king.
Yeah.
For him to have to feel like he had to go do that right away.
well,
Right
and
away.
what the thing is, as he's preparing, he is like she's starting to look exactly like her mother. So I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, that's where this is coming from.
That
And Griffith
was intense.
calls it like he sees it.
Yeah, and then Griffith, is just tortured over and over and over for what is
A year.
a year, and we cut to his luck, like you said, Megan has run out, and we cut to a year later. Well, during this year, at the end of it, I guess.
Oh, should we talk about Guts and Casca before that?
That's not
That's
yet.
not yet.
That's
That hasn't
not
happened yet. No.
No.
That's when
yeah.
it comes back. So a year later, we see Guts at this tournament. It's not super important to talk too much about the tournament. It's a tournament for
Guts,
strong
I
people.
just like Guts has just been fighting people.
Yeah. He's just been fighting. He
like
went
it.
into a mountain and hung out with a blacksmith and his daughter.
And his daughter, and then like he's like chopping the logs, and it's just like he's just
Yeah,
training,
he's
little
just doing his
training
own
montage.
thing,
Yeah,
yeah.
he's just for the once in his life
doing something for himself.
doing something for himself.
Comes across this guy in the tournament who's like using weird weapons.
Yeah,
and-
that's it starts becoming a comedy again because there's
Yeah.
just like a typical anime
Yeah.
ninja, shadow ninjutsu guy, and
Sonic
Griffith-
rings.
Sonic rings.
I was like, it was starting to feel like Mashal like the way Guts was behaving.
Well, yeah, I mean, he gets, funnier and funnier.
Oh
Yeah.
my god,
and
he's
starts
so
be-
goofy.
like, and also, I think it's like the stronger he gets too, the more cocky or confident he becomes.
It's like I'm bored.
Yeah.
This is all you fucking got.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like
Whatever.
he's like flipping the weapons around. Like
Yeah,
it's like
yeah,
this is
yeah.
like pure comedy happening.
yeah.
so much fun to see.
But they find out that the winner of this tournament is going to be tasked with going on this mission to go defeat this female warrior who's the leader of this band of mercenaries.
He's like,
oh,
are they,
because we
are they,
forgot.
Huh.
We forgot that the
Oh.
yeah, because like when Griffith did whatever he did, they turned on the Band of the Hawk too. They
Yeah,
sent them
the
out to
whole
the
army.
field, yeah, and to like under the guise of a training mission, and then attacked them. And Casca took command in that moment
naturally.
as people were getting fucking killed left and right. She's like, all right, I need you to one over here. We need to, she got everybody together, put them all in rank, and sort of like escaped. So ever since then, she's been their leader.
Yeah, and I like how he's like, I don't want to go over there if he's not gonna be strong. And he's like, oh, she actually,
Yeah.
and she's very strong. He fucking already knew. He was like, God damn it, it's the fucking Band of the Hawks again.
There's some sort of bird clan. I forget
Yeah.
which one, but
Oh, they're big and they have talents. And
Ah, yes.
the band of the
Band of the
Squawk.
No.
Band of the.
Don't say cock. Don't say cock.
Is that what you were?
Yeah. Don't say cock.
Oh, it
God
works because
damn it.
bird.
Because it's a bird.
Oh, yeah,
you
bird is a
fucking
cock.
get your mind
Is
out
that
of
why
the
you laugh so
gutter.
hard?
Yes, because
She loves
roosters
chickens.
are funny and
She
they're
does.
tasty. The chickens.
We
The
should move on.
chickens are tasty.
We should move on.
We should move on. But yeah, so we find out that other guy took up.
We should move on.
Took up that mission, and Guts goes to confront and meet Casca and the Hawks in the woods again, and they have a brief moment. Or I think the guy actually shows up to attack them first, and then
Yes.
Guts shows
Yeah.
up.
Yes.
And they have another fight, where it is, it leans comedic for a little bit, but they're able to take. I don't think this stuff is like super crazy important because what happens next. We also should say too, within that year when Guts left right away. By the way,
so far in the series, well, especially with the flashback part, it was like in the beginning, I like the fight scenes much better, but in this Golden Age arc, I'm much more interested in the story and characters than I am in the
Same.
fight scenes.
And I don't want to skip over because you said this was a character that you really liked. When Guts left, the night he left too, he came across the Skull Knight.
Oh yeah, it's like, oh, if there was going to be an evil character, it'd be this guy, but he seems pretty chill.
Well, yeah, I mean, he seems like he's the chill isn't the right word because we do see him again later, and what he does seem to be is like almost like he does like I don't know how to say it exactly, but he seems like there's a purpose that he's there to fulfill, and it's almost like something he sees as like a noble purpose, and anything else is beneath him. So he's not there to do like senseless killings or be like, evil for the sake of being evil. Like he has something that he's set out to do, and anything else is like a waste of his time or beneath him. So he does seem like noble also.
Yeah.
If he was I'm under the impression he's a supernatural being. Do you think he's like a real person?
Well,
or?
we see later on when they go down to the chamber a little bit later that he was a person.
Okay.
Yeah.
'Cause I liked him as like he was some sort of like herald, but he was like people are constantly warning Guts, and I like how he was like the advice he gave was like pretty sound.
Yeah.
So it seemed like in this world of like all these evil supernatural beings, he was at the very least like it was the most helpful one I've seen. Even though he is this guy in like skull skeleton armor.
He looks so badass.
Yeah,
too.
it was
It's
awesome.
so
Yeah, I guess
cool.
skeletons, reference to Berserk.
Duh. Duh. But yeah, he does tell him that his friends a year from now are going to experience a horrible death and flesh. He keeps saying flesh and, very vague,
That
cryptic.
doing that, and then 1 year later, I'm like, oh no.
Yeah. Oh, no.
The story, the pacing is faster
Yes.
than I thought it
Well,
was.
it picks up, I
Yeah,
think, a lot.
well, yeah, like as the battles and the mercenary stuff, that all felt like prologue, and now it feels like around when the Arnold guy, and
Yeah.
that's when it felt like now we're
After the battle of-
picking up here.
Yeah.
After the Battle of Daldry, it's like, okay, here we go.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that happened within the year. Then cut to the tournament. Then cut to the reunion. They take out the guy with the special weapons.
It's mostly a joke.
Yeah.
Because he does like kill someone easily, but the second Guts is like, this isn't a fight.
Yeah, they have their reunion and they catch up, but specifically him and Casca aren't really talking yet. He's sort of reuniting with his raiders, and he's reuniting with like Corkus and Judeo and Rickert and everybody's happy to see him, and it does feel like an honest reunion, and I feel like warm, and I'm excited to see him back with his friends, and he's excited to see them again, and it does, even though it took place over the course of a couple panels this whole year, it does feel like he's been gone for a long time.
Yeah,
and seeing them together again was really cool, and then him and Casca go off to have their conversation in the woods, and that's where
he saves her. Is that the same? I thought they go to the woods twice, but maybe I'm just
because when I was reading, it's like they show like the end of their encounter like way before this, and then like
they go back.
Then they go back to it, but yeah that was like
because there's like a moment where they're just talking, and then the other moment is when she almost falls off the cliff.
Well, they go.
Is that the same?
I mean, I think because they have this moment with the assassin with the crazy weapons,
yes,
and then after that's resolved, then she's off handling business because we've been led into the fact that while Griffith's been locked up, she's been running things and she's tired, she's exhausted.
Yeah.
So when Guts is having that reunion, she's not paying him any mind. She's going off and like delegating and telling everybody like, okay, like let's take care of the wounded here, let's do this. So when they do finally have a moment, which comes later, they go off on their own and like they catch up with each other and they talk to each other, and that's what leads them into sort of what ends up happening because she's furious and she's mad at him because
again
yeah well I mean this time I
you
think
ruined everything.
Yeah, I think a little rightfully so. I think a lot of people are blame Guts at this point. Corkus at first was even saying like, no, I mean, this isn't Guts' fault. Like, it had to be either part of Griffith's plan or a fluke or something. But then because of everything that happened, everybody, like,
it was because of him.
I mean, it was.
He probably wouldn't have done that if Guts was still in the picture.
Probably not.
But, I mean, you can't blame Guts for that. Like, he did it of his own free will.
He just joined, I mean. To blame the new guy. I mean, yeah, blame the new guy.
Well, I mean, I guess at
3
that point,
years,
it was like 4 years.
Yeah. Yeah. He was a pivotal part in the...
What is it, Corkus been doing nothing for 3 years?
Corkus doesn't do shit!
Yeah, well, we do get a little bit of Corkus backstory, which I did like a little bit too, because cut back to that bar scene real quick. They do say, I think it's either Rickert or Judeo goes like, well, funny story about Corkus. Like, he used to be the leader of a band of thieves, and
makes sense.
His band of thieves were desperate, and they tried to steal from the Band of the Hawk, and all of his thieves, I think, were murdered except for him, and so he decided to join up. So, we do get a little Corkus lore. For the Corkus heads,
for all the Corkus
all
heads
you
out
Cork
there.
heads.
Yeah. But so anyway, Guts and Casca have their moment, and this is something that I really want to talk about because this I think was so masterfully, beautifully, and well written and done, and everything paneled, drawn, handled, all of it was so good because we see ultimately what ends up happening is their conversation leads them into realizing that at least for Casca that she really does care for Guts, and that when he left on that snowy night that he didn't turn back, he didn't look at them, and her feeling came from like him wanting to stay, and her relationship sort of now with Griffith being like in question, and like, does that make me a liar is what she keeps saying all the time. Does that make like my feelings a lie? Because how can I say I want to be this man's sword and be by his side, but then feel these things for this other person at the same time? Like, she's really having to deal with all these emotions and accepting that she really does or is starting to love Guts. And it's a lead-in to...
fucking finally.
Yes.
Jesus Christ. I was like,
we're by the
shook.
cliff. Yeah, they have that moment.
I was shook. I was like, holy shit. And I'm reading this in fucking public. I was like,
I thought that was
gonna
take more build up before they got to that point.
I think it was fine.
They seal the deal.
They do the deed.
Yeah, they do the deed. It's beautiful, especially because it feels like when you're reading it that the Griffith scene wasn't that far away. They're sort of close together, so you just get to see how like truly gentle Guts is, and how like he's really like he's this strong, arguably stronger than Griffith.
Yes,
and he's just the way he's holding Casca, and the way it's drawn. He's very careful with her, and he's very considerate of her and of her feelings and how she's reacting to the situation. And this is where I had to put the book down because as beautiful as this scene was,
You got to take care of some business.
No, immediately when I finished this volume, I was like, okay. No, listen. This is funny. So I'm like reading it, and as I'm not even finished with it. I just get past that part, and I was like, holy shit, which volume am I on? I'm like 9. I'm right next to Barnes and Noble. I get up, take all of my stuff, go to see if they selling volume 9 so I could buy it, and they don't have it. And I was like, motherfucker. Anyway, I just thought that was really funny.
Did they have volume 69? Am I right?
They probably did.
They probably did, but they didn't have
It's a very
9.
long-running series.
I just thought that was really funny that I was like, oh, they don't have it, so I just went back to reading.
Megan's fanning herself off.
Yeah, Megan. What else did you do in that window?
Steamy!
It was super steamy,
oh my
dude.
God.
It was super steamy, and they're into it, and you're happy for Guts, and you're
I
happy for Casca for
know.
opening up, for being vulnerable, for him opening up and being vulnerable, and for them taking this huge step and him realizing, like, hearing what Casca's saying and accepting her and her fears and telling her, like, you're not a liar, like, you're not, like, you're still true to yourself. You're being true to yourself in your heart, and it's perfect.
Until
and then,
it's not.
Flip the fucking page.
Until it's not perfect
and then
at all.
his attacker shows up, and he starts seeing, like,
Casca as himself.
Casca as, like, a little boy version of himself, and then him as the attacker.
And then he just, like, goes to, like, fucking choke her out, and she's
Which
like,
I'm sure at the time that was, like...
Hot.
No, that was, like, why? Like, how crazy.
Right, but not anymore.
Yeah, not anymore. I was like, oh, is this... anyway.
I did not expect that.
I did not expect
should
it
have
either.
been so, I guess, sort of predictable as a character who's gone through
trauma.
Trauma.
Yeah.
I should have maybe seen that coming, but I was literally just, like, shook. I couldn't, like, I had to put it down for a second. I out loud audibly just was like, what the fuck? Like, I was,
because you saw it again. It was like a full page of, like, what had happened, and you hadn't seen it until when you read it, and you're like, oh my God.
Yeah, he hates himself. He comes to and sort of realizes what he's doing, and then it's just like, he's like, what? I'm a fucking, like, I'm broken. I'm kind of worthless. Why did I think I could be happy? Why did I think I could do this?
Yeah, it was nice to see Guts' first time being like everyone else's, right?
yeah. Like everybody else after sex.
Every time.
Every time.
Oh, God.
Oh, my God. But yeah, and Casca is, like, very understanding and nurturing, and she just takes
hugs him.
And he opens up to her, and he really tells her, like, I was abused, I was taken advantage of. And then he calls for the first time Gambino his father out loud. I think is the first time he's said that. And
I killed my father.
I killed my father. And Casca is very loving and understanding and really takes him in.
I know.
And kind of walks him through the rest of it. And here's what I loved so much. Guts is very, again, like, unsure of the situation and himself, but is allowing himself to be taken care of by Casca and guided through this situation by Casca. And again, just it's shown contrasting with Griffith, how just like how soft his hands are when they're for her, I guess. That's beautiful. And,
okay, that's a
really
a great
good.
way to talk. After you say something like, wow, that was great.
Yeah, that was really great because
Thank you,
that's
guys.
exactly how he is.
Thank you, guys. But what I thought was beautiful is at the very end, he sees when they're laying there, the end of the volume, is he says to himself, like, and I don't know why in that moment I just saw a younger version of myself, like, putting medicine on my nose, the medicine that Gambino gave me with a big sword, with my sword beside me. To me, symbolizing that, like, this whole time, like, Casca has been wanting to be Griffith's sword, but now she's Guts' sword.
Mm-hmm.
And in that moment, like, he's in that same vulnerable place that he was when he was a child, with his sword now the same with Casca. I mean, it was just, like, so poetically perfect and beautiful. And I closed it and I sat there and I was just like, really, I just let myself feel
You needed
it.
a solid 40 seconds before
jerked
you could
up.
get back.
Oh my God!
Just kidding. That feels so
to
disrespectful.
the emotional.
That feels so disrespectful.
Yeah, to the emotional climax. I had an emotional climax.
Okay.
And that's the most respect.
And that's the most respect you can give any work of art.
It's true. Yeah, dude. And he just goes, like, she's like, do you really have to? He's like, I'm going to go again, but come with me.
Yes.
Like, come with me. Like, we'll go together. I don't know what I'm going to do, but, like, just come with me. And she's like, what? And he was just like, because, like, I can't not be with you anymore. Yeah. He's like, I want to do this 1,000 more times. And she's like, shut up. You're stupid. And he's like, I am. I know. And they
I mean, literally they shift, their dynamic shifts to girlfriend and boyfriend so fast, even without them saying it. Just like the little things that they do now.
Yeah, the
so
petty
funny.
shit that happens a little further down. I was like, oh my God, it's so funny.
Yeah, he says, like, I don't even know if my plan to find my dream, if you'll get in the way of that or not. He's like, but I can't be without you.
He says, like, oh, I don't think I wrote it down.
But it was just like so well said, and it just felt like something Guts in that moment would say, you know, given all of his history.
He's like, I can't get enough of you.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, Guts. Oh my God.
But after that, they go back, and everybody in the Hawk, like, you know, Judeo, everybody's picking up on some vibes. It's so funny because they realize that they have to go break Griffith out and that they have to go save him.
Finally,
and,
after a fucking year. I don't know why they would wait. Yeah.
I guess they've been on the run. I guess their numbers have been
sieging a castle.
Yeah, but I mean, maybe they had to wait for their person on the inside too. But it's the little things that I love so much, like the moment that they're about to set off and Casca jumps on the horse.
Oh yeah, that was my favorite.
So
and
funny.
She's like, oh, and he's like, are you okay? She's like, shut the fuck up, you fucking dumbass. Must be easy.
Yeah, she's like, you're so lucky.
You're so. Yeah, I totally forgot I was gonna mention that. I was like, everyone's been there, sister.
It was, and again, like there's so much more comedy slowly as the series progresses. Even though the story, you know, gets darker and darker, but it's always well balanced and well done. And it seems like there's a place for it.
Yeah.
But yes, so they set off to also at this time, during this time too, I should say that there are sightings of creatures. There are people that are seeing creatures like that serpent creature specifically.
Yeah, another slug guy too.
Another slug guy, but that happens I think a little bit later, and I think it's the same slug guy because that wasn't like an entity. That was like a thing that possessed that person in the beginning. I think
slugs. There's slugs everywhere.
That's very true.
Great observation.
Thank you.
But so many slugs, you'd think we were in Congress.
I'm waiting for that joke to not get funny, but it hasn't happened yet. But yeah, so everybody's seeing all these creatures. Griffith is in his cell, and Griffith is starting to now hallucinate. He's been able to seemingly think about this entire year is Guts. He's fixated and obsessed with Guts and starting to see things like through the bricks of his cell. He's starting to see the God Hand or that realm that we saw in the Black Swordsman arc. And he's starting to see these creatures come out that call him the Prince. And they're referring to him and saying, like, we require like a meeting with you, our
I don't think
prince.
they're hallucinations.
No, I mean, I don't think they are either. But I mean, I think it's like the pieces are all starting to come together.
Because I think there's I'm unclear on the rules of the egg. But
that seems important.
There is an amount of like desperation that needs to be used because I've only when I've seen it be activated, it was like oh no, I have no other choice.
I think it has to be that. I think that plays a big part in it, and we see that happen, and then the rescue mission happen, and we find out.
I was legitimately disgusted when they show Griffith.
Yeah, he's fucked,
and it made sense. It was a year of torture.
Like horrible torture.
And the king gave the torturer the specific instructions to keep him alive the entire time. And so it would make sense that they would have to do all the horrible things that they did to him, which were like cutting his tendons in his arms and his legs. And this is what I was talking about earlier about the power of not showing something. Like we were talking about the Joker movie and how he looked in the file and we were able to see everything in the file. Having not been able to see that and leaving it up to our imagination, I think would have been more powerful. Like when they open Griffith's helmet and they look at him and we don't get to see what Griffith looks like. No. And Berserk, the manga, has shown us so many horrible and horrifying monsters and creatures and ugly things.
Yeah, it was not. Doesn't like Guts sees it and he's like the helmet stays on.
Yeah.
Like they didn't have to like. It was unsaid that he was like, I want your men they shouldn't see you like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty rough.
And he gets emotional. He's like, back off, like stay back, because it should be mentioned too that the princess they go through an underground tunnel with a skeleton kind of crew. The princess lets them in. The princess demands to go down into the tower with them,
and it's like
she's still obsessed.
Yeah, still obsessed, and like there's weird emotions. There's like a whole thing because Casca's like,
yes,
oh, I want to see Griffith, and Guts is like, okay, I guess that makes sense, but I'm still not the happiest about that.
Well, no, I mean, like, this is like back to the boyfriend girlfriend kind of vibes. It's like they're literally walking down this pathway, and Casca's pulling on his cape or like holding his hand.
Yeah,
and so Guts is, I think, like from what I'm reading, Guts is like into it. Like he likes it. He likes being loved, and he likes her needing him, I guess.
And then he's like, "Princess, I'll carry you because you're being too slow or whatever." And Casca's like,
well, no, but then before that, like she'll mention Griffith, and he'll get like visibly upset and jealous and angry, even though like he's known that that's how she feels, but he thinks that like, I thought because this other thing happened that you were over him, like,
I know.
And it is like a very real, we've all been there kind of thing. Like
let's not even worry about it.
Too true, you know. Yeah, sad. That was a sad,
Yeah.
But yeah, and so then she gets jealous because of him just like treating the princess the way he's treating her. But yes, then they go down. Judeo, who knows everything, is telling them, and I think the princess as well is telling them about why it's called Midland, and it is because it was the middle of these two lands. Very uncreative name, not on the part of the writer, but on the part of the world. Hey, it's in the middle of two other powerful nations. Let's call it Midland.
That's usually how names worked back then.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the writing, beautiful, but...
Newfoundland is just the name of a country.
That's a good point.
And it's
Greenland.
Iceland.
Yeah.
How long of a time do you think that Newfoundland will work as a name for a place you just found?
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean... It all just relied on whoever found it first just gets to name it whatever.
I mean, where did they pull out America?
Probably a person named America.
I think that is the reason.
I don't fucking know.
America Ferrera.
Is that
I like that. I like that one.
Yeah.
Is that a singer?
No, she's an actress.
She's an actress.
Traveling pants, the whole nine.
Yeah, the whole nine. But yeah, so and the legend that we're given is very like Sodom and Gomorrah. If you're like familiar with, it's like a story or a city in the Bible, and how it was a city of like sin and power, and that God destroyed. Very, 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 very similar to Sodom and Gomorrah. Almost beat for beat, it feels that way. Here's a little bit of that past foreshadowing that I loved from a character accidentally misspeaking, but I think from a writing standpoint, purposefully. Judeo says like, yeah, then there were 5 angels sent down by God to destroy this city. And then another character, I think maybe the princess, says, weren't there 4? And then he's like, oh, yeah, I don't know why I thought there were 5. Yeah, there were 4.
Ooh.
And then, which because Griffith, of course, becomes the 5th. And I just thought that was a nice little Easter egg, nice little baylet.
Easter baylet.
A little Easter baylet.
Kids, gather around. We get some baylets
horrifying
around.
Easter. But yeah, so then all that happens. They get the legend of this city and its sin. And there's a pile of corpses at the bottom, and they all have the brand of the sacrifice on them. And I can't tell if Guts stops and sees them, but I don't know if I can't tell if he's either reacting to the torturer following them or if he actually saw the corpses. I don't think he saw the corpses, but we are shown that all the corpses from that city all have the brand of the sacrifice on their foreheads. I feel like that's important for later.
The shape of a brand on their foreheads.
With the shape, and I like that one. And we're gonna pause for a second.
Wow.
But yeah, then they go rescue Griffith.
Didn't it make sense not to live for Guts?
They go rescue him. They have this reunion, like you said. There was that horrible face that Guts refuses to let anybody see. Guts goes berserk again. He gets emotional. He all the soldiers are coming down because the torturer has told on them. He starts slaying everybody.
Hell yeah, he's pissed because he's like, I took off his tendons and cut out his tongue. And he like licks it, and then Guts is just like, you're fucking dead. And he's like, nice, try getting through this wall. It's actually 3. And it's just like, And he's like, "Oh, I can't hear you. Can you say that louder?" And he guys are just being an
I like
asshole.
because that was the thing where it's like, oh, you first see him try to do a one-liner, it doesn't really work, and then he cuts off his tongue and he gets like a solid action hero one-liner. So I like that.
That was it was perfect.
The reason the torturer was having so much fun is he was like born deformed, so he likes being able to
deform others,
being able to torture a beautiful man like he wanted to destroy something beautiful.
Yeah. And, in the beginning of him torturing him, too, it should be mentioned that he took the balet from Griffith. And
and it fell.
Yeah,
it opened an eye, and he was like, ah. And, and I'm like, have you seen yourself?
No, he probably doesn't.
Yeah,
he probably doesn't.
I wouldn't either. But I would avoid mirrors. But yeah, so anyway, Guts goes crazy, kills everybody. They escape.
Once again.
By the, barely. They barely escape.
Yeah.
And then we're back to the king for a second. The king unleashes the Baki Raka
Woo!
on them.
And this is when
Yeah.
my understanding and what I've been told is this is more of what the story is.
What do you mean?
This character and these types of monsters they'll be fighting.
Ah, yes.
I felt so... I can't even put into words how I felt just seeing this character for the first time. I felt disgusted.
Yeah.
And, viscerally, how he was drawn, it just made my skin crawl. Even when he's, when you first see him when he's, doing, the trial or whatever, when he defeats that guy, his face and... Oh, so horrifying.
It's weirdly, it's given more detail than the others, so it just
God.
feels unreal.
Well, they're like a kind of like a traveling freak show. It seems like this group of people, the Baki Raka, is who I'm talking about.
They're just criminals.
Well, yeah, and that's when we're led into the king's real plan, which the king's real plan was there's no real way we could take Doldry. Our armies are dwindling, our forces are dwindling. So you find out, because when we meet the Devil Dogs later, you find out that he's been secretly, the reason he even probably employed the Band of the Hawk in the first place is because he's been employing every criminal he can find, every assassin he can find, and we're shown these more sort of just weird, non-human looking characters.
I forgot about those guys.
That's the Baki Raka.
I thought it was someone else. But yeah, Baki Raka. The fucking band of...
Oh, you guys thought I was talking about the Devil Dogs this whole time?
Yeah.
The Horseman.
I forgot about him. But no, we're going back to those guys. I forgot they had a little tiff.
And, that seemed a little, in the grand scheme of things, it did seem like a little side quest. They were really cool. They were a group of, like I said, a traveling sort of freak show with a little guy and the lanky guy and then the sort of enchantress looking lady.
I laughed out loud for the first time in this series when, the puddle, a guy can, turn into a puddle, and he goes to stab Casca, and she blocks it, and he just goes, shit! It's just that was his whole plan. Yeah. And he has no counter to that, and it's that was it.
Yeah.
I really liked how, they're trying to defeat these guys, and then the princess gets fucking involved, and they're like, well... Okay, just give us a minute. This is the whole... We can't get caught by her. We can't kill her.
I mean, the fact
because that would be fucked for us, so we gotta work something out.
That they even trusted them to make that trade.
Yeah.
Was a little frustrating. Really? You're gonna make that trade? And it was Casca's call, I guess, but...
It was we can't kill her, so... Why don't you give her to us and then we'll fight? And it's you kind of know they would have to hold back if you kept her.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but I think it was also implied too that if they got the princess, then they'd leave. And I don't know why they would.
I don't know. You see a naked man with knives on his hands and be like, "Just give us the girl." I thought that was if he did fulfill that bargain, I would have been shocked.
Wow.
I would have been shocked too
if he was all right.
A deal's a deal.
Yeah, so they get her, and then they're like, psych, of course.
Yeah, but they do have, and I kind of just want to breeze through this, too, to get to the more important kind of band of misfits that they encounter. But what it really boils down to is being a really cool moment where we do get to see Judeo and Pippin kind of really shine in this fight.
Yeah.
Judeo, tells him to turn off the lanterns or the flames, and uses the blades and the sparks from the ricochet to see. And Pippin, and even Griffith is his tongue is cut out too, which I don't know if we mentioned. Mm-hmm. So he's nodding to Pippin, look, there's the moonlight above there. So he uses his axe to open up the tunnel because this enchantress has set gunpowder sort of smoke throughout the tunnel, and this flame comes up through, they get away. It does seem like in the grand scheme of things, like they're not the most important group of characters because they get offed pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And I thought they were going to last a little longer, but they really didn't.
It seems like they're the last, they're like the introduction to like supernatural humanoid enemies.
Yeah, pretty much. And then like the king obviously is like, you didn't do your job, you didn't kill him, and then he kills them, and then the princess is back and she's like, please, like, don't go after Griffith anymore, like, I beg of you. And he hasn't seen her since what he fucking did, so he's like, okay.
Yeah,
No.
and then she calls him, she says, thank you, father, which is like a really big moment for her, and for him you'd think too, but then he thinks like, Griffith, she hasn't called me father, and she's only calling me father now for your sake.
You
like,
fucking dumbass.
Yeah, he's so
you
jealous.
fucking gross.
So you find out that he's been employing all of these assassins, hires the Devil Dogs, which we find out their leader is also a not humanoid kind of character.
Jesus
sets them off,
Christ.
and they are horrible as well, but also grotesque looking. They're just ugly people on the inside.
Yeah, and again, a very sexual theme. Like the opening to this character, I was like, Jesus fucking Christ.
Yeah, I thought it was a
Super.
statue. I was like, oh, is that the statue that the king's
No.
wife was having sex with in the prologue?
No,
Oh,
that was
that'd be
a
interesting,
thing.
but,
I don't know.
No,
Again, like just seeing this character for the first time, I was like, ew, ew, ew,
Yeah.
ew, ew.
Yeah, he was fucking gross. You know,
You
he
can't
was
pinpoint.
balls deep in these fucking women, and what they did to those poor villagers who were like helping Griffith and Pippin and all of them. You know, they show up to this village that they just passed through, and you know, rape and pillage. Yeah,
That's what they do. Like that's their entertainment. Like
Yeah.
that's their fucking criminals.
But you could tell that the leader is just having fun. Like, this is what he lives for, you know? And so they have them on spikes. They have their heads on spikes, and then they catch up to Guts and Casca and the gang.
They're like, what the fuck?
And start using the spears that they have these bodies on to, like, fight them. And, you know, Guts is having to defend himself, but then is seeing the head of the girl who was so kind to him moments earlier just flying past them. And it's, like, a very horrible thing. And the way that they treat these people and the things that they do to, like, women and children, and no one's safe with them.
No.
I mean, they're really illustrated to be like very horrible people, and at that point it gets across.
That's why I am genuinely curious. Are you more comfortable with that than in Goblin Slayer? Because I haven't, because usually in Goblin Slayer this will be accompanied by a sigh.
I mean, I think what it is in Goblin Slayer, it's the goblins who are doing these like horrible things. And the goblins, are not as, like, maybe humanoid, or they're not as, I don't know. In Goblin Slayer, it just I don't know how to say it. It feels different. Here, it feels like it's more a part of this, like, it's an ugly side of this world that like people and other humans are capable of. Because there are humans.
Yeah, I think that's the humanity part that is put into it versus, like, the goblins. I mean, like, the goblins, that's their only MO, versus like these guys, like they just want violence. Like it's different than like, oh, we need to do this because we need to breed. Like they're doing this for like fun. Like it's fucking fun. Like, oh, I like doing, like it's totally different.
So
it feels different.
Like narrative wise, that's like more comfortable.
I wouldn't say comfortable.
I would honestly say that I think it is because I'm aware of the people that I've gotten to know, I think, which in Goblin Slayer you get to know the people that are you know, taken advantage of by the goblins too, but I feel like more connected to the characters in Berserk, more so than I do that initial band of adventurers that we see in the beginning of Goblin Slayer. Like I feel more connected to the villagers. I feel like these people really didn't deserve it. And I feel as if like the people who are doing it, the Devil Dog leader is more aware of and more conscious of the fact that he's doing these horrible things and enjoying it more. So it makes it, I don't know what's harder to read or to watch. I would say if anything, Goblin Slayer is easier to
That's what reading this, I was like, oh, Goblin Slayer is the light version.
Yeah.
Because my friend like read the whole series, and it becomes a lot. He told me like a lot more of this is gonna start happening. So that's why I'm like, I wonder how, like, because it does feel different in these series. And it's like, I have no problem with monsters being. I actually prefer if monsters are monsters instead of like being told they're monsters. But this is like way more graphic.
But talking it through with you right now, yeah, I will agree that they're different, but I think although it's still equally bad, I think it's more like palatable in Goblin Slayer compared.
Because it's these monsters that this is the thing that they do. Like, they have no other way. Like, you don't see a goblin being like, I'm gonna be a good goblin. Like, they have no other way of thinking. Versus these people, you can easily be a human and be like, okay, I'm not gonna do that.
Well, not the horse man.
No. That man is not human. If they keep saying, like, I don't know if that man is human, I'm like, look at him.
Definitely not human.
Look at this fucking horse, lion.
He threw that guy on top of a tower, and I mean, that's a little weird, right?
No, no.
But I mean, we can just
What's sorcery?
It's so stupid, but it's completely different.
People are very unaware of. I mean, I guess they're just not willing to believe it. I don't know, but they're really passing this guy off like he's just a weird looking guy.
Dude, that is the weird. Oh my god, I don't like his face at all.
So horrifying.
It's so gross.
They have this whole chase scene, which I thought was really cool because it lets you know that they had this like escape route planned, so they have it booby trapped. And you'd think because the rest of his band, the Devil Dogs, are human, they're aware of they're aware of their mortality, and they're like we at every turn they're like we want to turn around.
Yeah, we can't go. They've already been over here. They probably set traps, and he's like, you guys are fucking scared.
Yeah, he's like, this is when it gets exciting.
Like chops a tree down or
chops a tree down.
No, he grabs a tree with his hand and rips it.
This guy's fucking.
That guy's like he's a little weird.
I think he's strong. No, he's like controlling them with like fear too. Like it's totally like. And he kills some of them at some point, like before they even get to the booby traps, and he's just like, "You're weak." Like,
yeah, and he too is also like, he's killing all of his comrades and everything too, but he also transforms into like, maybe a little bit of inspiration, maybe Attack on Titan.
I was thinking that the way
he looks like a big monkey.
He's controlling a lower body but while he's like still, like it has its own eyes and everything.
And it reminded me a lot of the Beast Titan, a lot in the way that it looked. Everything is Berserk, but and so this is where we get to see like Guts' training pay off.
Oh, what a great fight!
Yes, and speaking of like his like loss against Nosferatu Zod, like you could tell how much he's taken that to heart and how he will not lose again. And how he's also curious to see, like, can I actually beat one of these things?
Yeah, and he's still scared. He's like, oh, I remember this feeling. Like, this was that time. And he, they're fighting, and then fucking Casca gets in the middle of it. He grabs Casca, and he's like, oh, get ready. Get fucking to
then it turns into a hentai.
Yeah.
It turns into Bible Black with this guy.
It's like, you like clothes off. And he's just an asshole. He's like the worst fucking person. And he's like, oh, I don't have a bottom half, so this is what you're gonna fucking get. And then Gus is like, no, bitch, never on your fucking life. Yeah. And then Casca goes down. And then Casca's like trying to help Guts. He's like, okay, I can't focus if you're like that, so you gotta go.
Yeah. And also, I think this entire time when Guts is doing all of these like amazing, almost, inhuman things, Griffith, because he has his tongue cut out, is sort of just like in awe of him, it seems. Or also like maybe there is a range of emotion that Griffith is experiencing, but he sort of just always has his eyes on Guts.
Zoning. And even in like the moments where like Casca is like helping Guts like clean the blood off, he like looks pissed and like revengeful. Like he just looks like, I don't even know, you can't really tell what he's feeling, but he's just like Hawkeye's on Guts all the time.
And we do see that, it's a long battle, but we do see Guts is able to pull through and to kill this guy or kill this guy.
Yeah.
And it's like, again, like an inhuman victory. Like he was able to accomplish something that seemed impossible. And he was barely able to do it, but he pulled it off. And then there was this panel where it's just like so fucking Guts as he started to lean into this sort of like more comedic one-linery persona. He's literally, how could anybody have survived being thrown the way he was thrown, ragdolled the way he was, beat up the way he was, and then he's like fallen by this tree at the end, and Casca like runs up to him like, Guts! And like under everything, he's just like with a bloody like thumbs up. He's
that
and like
panel?
I got this. Yeah.
That panel was so perfect.
Yeah.
You could just hear everyone cheering and everyone's so happy, and he's just like, I'm good.
Yeah. And everybody's in awe, and they're like, Captain Guts, I mean, he's the man. And then there's this like real quick moment where him and Griffith get put into the back of the caravan, and you know, he's saying like, oh, we should rest. We should just heal our wounds. And, you know, Griffith is like nodding towards the armor. And he's like, you want to wear the armor? And he's like, I guess we are on a battlefield, you know? And there's this like beautiful panel of him just like from behind, like helping him fasten his armor to him. And
I like how that immediately pays off too. It wasn't.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And he
It
was
wasn't
like,
just symbolic.
You could take off your helmet. It's just us, you know?
Yeah.
And he's just like, I can't talk, so I'm just gonna.
Yeah.
He's like,
I kept waiting for them to give him water or something.
yeah, he
Yeah.
looks parched. Can you
Crusty
feed him
lips.
something? Give him some
Malnourished.
Cheez-Its? Like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. But then, of course, the guy is not dead. The devil dog leader is not dead. He comes back.
He's on
for
the verge.
Yeah, he comes back for one last hurrah. And
He's like his like lower body isn't working.
Yeah, he's like,
yeah,
I don't
he's
want
still-
to
he's got, like,
die.
a sword still in his.
I
like,
don't want to
throat.
die.
Yeah, and at this point, like he grabs, he's like, "Oh, this is for this fucking guy. Like, look at it. He's not even human anymore." And he rips that armor
That
off.
guy's trying to make a point.
He's not human, dude.
He's like controlling this like thing. There's like it's giant eyeballs and a thing tongue.
Yeah.
And he's just like, I mean, what? You're gonna follow this guy?
Yeah.
Like, you guys are crazy.
Yeah, and they
Dude.
show him. They show that.
But they show his full body and his skin.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's what he
man.
says. He goes, I ripped off pieces of his skin, like muscles are exposed, and they show him, and he's just like hanging there, and they're like, look, this is your fucking captain. Look, he's never going to be able to do this shit. Like, what are you doing?
To see, like, yeah,
Like a doll.
Yeah, it's like a doll.
muscle and bone, it looks like, too. And to see Griffith so high and mighty, so close to achieving his dream, this person
Yeah.
that everybody followed.
That's what, because I'm unclear on the rules of the egg, but I'm under the impression now, like, okay, activating it has to heal all your wounds.
Has to.
So it's like I'm believing that, like, oh, I like the idea of him activating it feels completely believable.
Yeah.
Like this is why, like, his story has been a solid like incline to this point, and I'm like, okay, he will do this out of desperation.
What I love about this writing is, like, how can I ever empathize with a character who is doing those things? How can that character ever get to that same evil point in a believable way, in a way that makes me still care for them? And it's happening because everything that he's gone through, you know, makes those choices make sense. Like, what other option does he have, really, at that point? But speaking of the egg,
Oh my
that's
god.
when he's holding him up, and, you know, in these last moments of despair, he's like saying, like, call him, like, you know, call him. Come,
do it.
like,
we know what's going. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
like,
We
I
know a
I
guy.
know who you are. Like, we all know
Yeah.
what's happening. You
Yeah,
and me.
call him. He's going to
Dude.
help us.
Call your Eggman.
Yeah, where's the egg?
Oh, you don't.
Yeah.
You don't have it. And then right when he finds out he doesn't have it, fucking Nosferatu Zod's
And
bitch ass
Nosferatu
comes
Zod,
back.
it's almost as if, similar with the Skull Knight, it's almost if there are these, like, hot, because then while all this is kind of happening, we do have that moment with Rickert in the woods
Oh my god.
when the rest of the Hawks who are injured and staying behind
That
get
was terrifying.
slaughtered and eaten by all those demons. You know, specifically the one that we thought was a fairy and the slug, and that's when the Skull Knight
Elf.
shows up again,
Yeah.
or
An
elf,
an evil elf.
An evil elf.
evil
Ew,
elf.
it looks
A big
too
elf,
much
too.
like a butterfly.
like a moth butterfly hybrid woman.
Yeah, really gross.
But then the Skull Knight shows up and he's like, "What are you doing? Like, we don't have time for this." And it seems like they're all on their way to Griffith because the Devil Dog leader also, before he even transforms, says, like, "I have business with that guy. I have, you know, business with the leader of the Hawks." So everything is like happening, but it's all seeming to happen around Griffith, or these beings are either gravitating towards him because of the eclipse, or you know, maybe it's a natural sort of the order of things, but also he's at the center of.
So we were told there's a timer on the events happening. All these beings are like converging in on Griffith at this moment, where it's like, if there was ever a moment to be desperate, it'd be this moment to activate some sort of saving grace.
Yeah, Nosferatu Zod's just like, you're fucking done, bro.
Yeah.
He's like, you're done. And he's like, no, don't kill me. And he's like, okay.
Well, that's what we're also let in on the hierarchy of these beings, too.
Yeah.
And while, you know, it seems that the God Hand is the ultimate power amongst them all, they are only given one rule, I guess, and that rule is that they can do whatever they want.
Right. So that horse guy is like, well, I'm just doing what I want. You know why? And the Nosferatu, I'm just gonna do what I want. It's very,
Yeah.
very like interesting dynamic.
Yeah.
I'm kind of like these are these like bizarre supernatural beings, but they talk like people. So it
Yeah.
is weird that he was like, well, what if I did what I want to do, which is to kill you? And he's like, no. It's weird when a monster begs for its life.
But it's interesting that you say they talk like people. because, he's afraid of this vortex and he's afraid of what will happen to him. And when he does die, that vortex opens and that same sort of inhuman chain of corpses and these hellish figures come to drag, maybe either his victims or whatever they are to
hell,
some sort of hell or afterlife.
Yeah.
And all that's left is an old man who must have been the guy's true form,
which we now know is a rule of dying when you make a pact
Wild.
involving eggs.
Wheeled?
Yeah.
Which is when you die, your true self gets like
yeah,
stuck in it. So like this was another person who was just corrupted by some deal or some egg pact.
Yeah, and so, which is interesting too, that they're not, there are members who are maybe making those same deals, but aren't members of the God Hand. Like, what makes you a God Hand level member?
Well, we see with the king, with the Count, it was the same type of deal where he had these powers and he was able to do things that other humans weren't, which is the same probably deal that he made with someone else. So it's just interesting to see how Griffith is not one of those people. He is part of the clan.
That's what I mean. Like, what separates, Griffith's already proven himself to be like a pretty amazing human so far, but
why?
What separates him from being just another guy to take a deal versus like one of the top dogs?
We'll see.
Well, it would seem, based on the prologue, we know that he's the kind of person who will take any deal if it means accomplishing his goal, which means betraying his friends.
Yeah, and that's where volume 11 fucking leaves
that's where it ends.
Off. Dude,
right on that panel man.
Oh my god, that volume, all of it. All the fights, his fight with fucking the big monkey horseman. Yeah. It was amazing. It was all so amazing. Like, oh my god, it's getting better and better. I can see the art just like every fucking volume. Like,
it was at a point, and I do want to clarify some things I said at the beginning. Like, again, I loved the pacing of this story as a whole, but I have to, reiterate that the battles to me were feeling a little repetitive. And then as soon as they started to feel that way, it completely changed and became something completely different. And the pace really picked up. I found myself like almost at points taking the art for granted because now we're 11 volumes into this thing. And I had to stop myself at times and remind myself like of how amazing
every now and then I would zoom in on like the fact that horses in the background are getting like their anatomy like drawn out and stuff.
Yeah.
It's I was starting to gloss over them being like, and then we were going for this, but I would just start looking at the art and make sure I didn't skip by it.
Yeah.
But I was like,
the armor, from the purple rhinos, like so amazing. Like the character design, like even with the monsters and like it's just it all just comes together and it's so haunting and like beautiful.
It is beautiful, and I know we maybe said a version of this in the first video, but it does. What I now, in hindsight, know is in the first video, we were starting to see the pieces about to be set in motion. In this, we've seen the pieces in motion, and now I think it's the last video is going to be completing that puzzle.
Yeah.
And I have genuinely no idea. We're 3 volumes away from the end of the Golden Age arc.
I can guess because we know the end result. That is the downside of reading the first part, is there would be a lot more mystery if we didn't know. Well, Griffith is going to do stuff.
Yeah, but we don't know how, who's involved. It's very still like exciting to see how it plays out, even though we know.
What I'm really interested in seeing is what happens to, obviously we know what happens to Griffith and Guts, but what happens to Casca? And what is her role in all of it?
She's not there in the prologue.
She's definitely not there.
Yeah.
And my friend told me that after the Golden Age arc, it becomes a lot more of like, more Doom is the word I would use, but like more like a fighting, like epic more story. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that. And I know there's like a very cool armor set he gets.
Yes.
And I want to see how he gets. I don't know the rules of that armor. I know it looks really cool, and I want to see where that comes into play here because it's not in the prologue, or he didn't feel like using it. So.
Yeah, there's obviously a toss-up when it comes to favorite arcs. Everybody's going to have different opinions, but I do hear that other than the Golden Age arc being seemingly unanimously everybody's favorite, the Conviction arc is everybody's second favorite arc, which I think is the arc right after the Golden Age. I could be wrong about that.
I don't know.
But I'm also interested to see how they change, how the story changes, because I feel like I'm so connected to these characters now, and I could read I could continue to read about all of these characters forever. There were so many times during this that I thought Pippin was going to die, that I thought Rickert for sure was going to die, Judea was going to die. And the fact that they haven't yet only means that they will eventually. And that they... and the longer they're alive, the more attached to them I get.
I know. I know for sure. I thought Rickert was going to die. I was like, oh, he's done.
Yeah, he had to be done. And the Black Knight at the very end, the Black Skull Knight was like, right as he was about to get killed, he's like, come on, guys, what are we doing? Stop wasting time. We have a mission to fulfill, or a destiny to fulfill.
They're like, fine, I guess we'll listen to you. Fine.
Yeah.
We do have a mission to get to. We shouldn't be killing people like
I
this.
don't know like what other like final thoughts we should say before we wrap this episode up, because we're specifically and purposely doing the last Golden Age arc video only covering 3 volumes so that we can talk more about our feelings about this arc as a whole. So we don't, because I know in these videos we do go sort of chronologically, I guess, and we give our thoughts and opinions as we go. But I think at the very end, it's going to be nice to kind of talk about everything and how we felt about everything, and to focus more on our feelings and how this story, you know, really impacted all of us. Because I know it's hit us all the same, and it's hit us all a little different at parts. Mm-hmm. But is there any like final thoughts you guys want to say before we end this episode about everything that we've read and everything that we've experienced and everything that we've gone through?
I mean, I definitely felt more in the second half of the Golden Age arc than I did in the first one. I mean, I had fun, but I immediately just became obsessed. Mm-hmm. Like I was just like, oh my god, this is fucking amazing. Like I thought it was amazing before, but even now more so. It's just getting better and better. And now I'm just like so nervous to see the next 3 volumes. I'm like, what the fuck is going to happen? Like it's just like the buildup of this arc completely, and I just feel like it's going to just wrap all together, and this is the story now, and after this we will see what unfolds for the rest of the characters, which is like a good place to be at, and I'm excited to talk about it.
Me too.
And read it, obviously.
I definitely like when the world becomes supernatural. I enjoy that. That's when the story felt like it was picking up for me. Also, that dog man, I imagined his voice was Andre the Giant. In my head, that was the voice that he had.
He's the worst.
He's the worst.
The worst character I've ever seen.
And I know that's only the tip of the iceberg with the monsters in this series. So I want to see how you guys feel about it as it goes on.
They cut him out completely of the anime.
I understand
and
why
the movie.
They would.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think at the second movie ended before I think he's introduced.
I don't think.
Because the second...
Really? They have him in it?
I mean, I don't know. I haven't watched the third movie yet because I haven't finished. You watched the third one?
I think until...
Uh-oh.
Did I?
Because the second movie ended at a place where he wasn't introduced yet. So I don't know. But
because the anime didn't cover it at all. They just kind of fight, and then that's where they have
I feel like it'd be a really weird thing to cut out, and I don't think they would, but they might. I mean, they cut out the whole Queen thing.
I think I wrote a note on it.
Either way, I'm going to watch the third movie when I complete the rest of this series. I just have to say, you know, my final thoughts on what we read so far is that I really have started to empathize with Griffith. I really am sort of seeing him now in a completely different light than just this villain character who's doing evil things. Yes, he has a dream that he wants to accomplish, which again is such a beautiful theme, and it's so well handled how everybody has these dreams. You know, we brushed over things like Gaston wanting to open up his clothing shop and having to come back and just be there for the Hawks when they needed him, and Guts trying to find his purpose, and Griffith trying to achieve these things, and sort of that feeling of defeat when everything that you've worked for is taken from you, and it's taken from you by someone who you feel is like close to you. And I connected with the relationships. I connected with the themes. I connected with Griffith a lot. Like he's quickly becoming, I mean, I know he's going to probably take a hard turn too, but like, you know, I really, you know, he quickly has become one of my favorite characters, with Guts, obviously, and Casca, obviously, and Corkus, obviously. But I mean, like, you know, I am excited to see what, I know the choice he makes, but like how he makes it and who it affects and how it affects them. Like, I know what I'm going to see, but I can't wait. I can't wait to see how I see it and read it and consume it. And I'm just so like taken with this series more and more and more. And I have to say, it's like quickly become my favorite, if not one of my favorites, series of all time. And I think that's going to do it for our Part 2 Golden Age arc review. Tune in for Part 3, where it's going to be the completion of volumes 1 through 14, I guess, technically. And we will talk about the remainder of the story as well as our thoughts and opinions more in depth on the series as a whole. But I love talking to you guys about this series and like reliving it with you guys.
I know.
And
it's so good.
Yeah, it's so much fun to just share this and you know, and I think, you know, it validates me even more that there's a place and a time where, you know, we need to consume things. And even though it's a series that's been around forever, I feel like it's a story that I needed to read now and that I, you know, and I'm glad that I finally got around to reading. So, I mean, hopefully you've enjoyed listening to us talk or watching us talk. And like I said, stay tuned for Part 3.
It's going down in Part 3.
Yeah. The completion of the Golden Age arc.
Dang.
But yeah, other than that, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. We got to just real quick, if you've made it all the way to the end, we got to just shout out our Patreon members. Thank you so much. You guys are amazing. You guys are amazing. I love you guys. I love you guys. Cody loves you guys. Megan loves you guys. We all love you guys. You guys are the best. You make everything that we do possible. And, you know, you just give us strength to...
you give us gut strength.
Yeah. And other than that, you know, if you want to become a Patreon member, you can always do that by going to patreon.com/volume1pod. And yeah, join the Discord, follow us on Instagram, wherever you can. Links are always going to be in the description down below. The only thing now left to do is to get out of here on our outro. That's always the same and never changes, which today, of course, Corkus is.
I think, I was like, this would be funny. The meme.
How are we going to do that in an outro?
I could say it and then you say yes.
It's a lot of memorizing.
Oh, I mean, you only say 2 words.
Oh, I could do that.
I have to say the rest.
You want to
try?
It
was just a suggestion. Cody doesn't look very happy about
Cody
it.
checked out.
Yeah.
Well, you know, we're at the end of the episode. Cody, you know, we got a lot of good Cody in this episode.
Well, it's like, I mean, final thoughts. It's not the time for the final thoughts would be in Part 3.
Well, what does that have to do with the outro?
Oh, that's why I've been quiet. I'm like,
okay. Well,
you gave what should have been your.
No, I gave my thoughts on this
this
part of the story.
That was a conclusion speech, though.
It was tying up this video. And then I'm going to give my thoughts on the whole series. So if you thought that was a lot, brother, strap in, all right? But what's our outro today? I think we should say...
Damn, Guts, where'd you find this?
I mean, it's all we got so far.
Okay. Is it not funny?
It was funny.
Fuck. Okay.
That was yeah. I mean,
you
MLG.
were born from a corpse and began your life from death in the mud. You are closer to death than anyone. Thus, you excel in escaping it.
And we got to end on it.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
Until next time, Hawks
away.
Hawks away.
Hawks away.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Hawks away. I'll take it. All right. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And until next time, Hawks away.